Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Abigail Beck. Welcome back to the Rogue Room. How are you doing? How's it hanging? How's things? How have you been? Have you had a good one? Have you had a good day today? I hope you've had a good day today. If you haven't had a good day today, well, that's not bloody good, is it? That's in fact the opposite of good, and I don't want you to have bad days. You know, if you're stopping by here, I at the very least hope you're having a good day now. There we go. I think that one's for magic. Oh, where's my ring? We gotta get the ring in there. And Fox. Okay. And we have to hydrate before we begin as well. What's been happening, folks? How's the morning been? That's just rubbed off like chocolate lipstick on my fucking shaker bottle from Thrive. No idea what Thrive is, but apparently I've got a shaker bottle from them, which is going to appear in the upcoming video if you saw my my previews of it. I think the bottle appears in it. Anywho, so let's kick off with some of the most important stuff. Of course, the first and most significantly important thing is flipping off Soul Reaper, of course, and we'll posture check it. Why not? Let's make sure we're sitting correctly. If you're once per stream, they should be once per stream. Honestly. They really should. The only one that should be consistent is like the water. I can check my own posture, alright? Also, I bought this cardigan. Like, so many of my girl clothes are from when I bought this when I had like a much wider shoulder breadth, it feels like. I was much bigger. And now I'm very little. And everything is hanging off me. Even this crop top is hanging off me just a little bit because when I bought this it was very tight, and I guess I've lost that much weight. I'm small now. What was I going to say? I forgot what I was going to say. I was on something and I've forgotten what it was. And now I've lost my train of thought, and that's great. Oh, yes. Okay, so I didn't stream last night, as you may have been aware. Because there was no we, it was me, it was myself. Me and I and myself and nobody else in the house. I was recording the next big video, the next video essay. It's recorded. I have reached out to a number of friends to do some voice acting bits for me, because there are a number of quotes. Oh my god.
Please, enjoy all the delights of the subscriber lounge.
DJ Mule, thank you so kindly for that Prime. Hope you're having a fucking good one. What did I say? Yeah. Oh, yeah, so I recorded the next video, the next big video. This music is really loud. Let me turn this down just a tad, so you can still hear it, but not that much. And I'm honestly very, very pleased with how it turned out. Mule, thank you for the host. I'm very pleased with how it turned out. Like, watching back some of the footage. I haven't watched back the whole thing yet, because it's like 50 solid minutes of raw footage that I've got to edit, which means the video itself may... Honestly, I didn't have too many outtakes from what I can recall, so this may be anywhere from 35 to 40 minutes of video. Prepare yourself for that. I think I made some good fucking points. I want to think I made some good fucking points. And my goal is to get it up before the end of the month, so I got to rush this edit. I got to speed run this edit to get it out before the end of the month. Spill the V, welcome to the Rogue Room. How are you doing? So we've done the raw record. I've reached out to most of the voice actors that I need. There's one more role that I need. And I want it to be a trans man. I don't know many trans men, weirdly enough. So I've reached out to one of the fellow streamers that I'm aware of, who is a trans man. And I've said, look, I've got this minor voice acting role. It's yours if you want it. They haven't got back to me yet. Because there are a number of voice roles in the video that are either trans or cis, male or female, and I didn't want to pull a Sia, so I wanted to cast them accurately, but considering that trans is a very big point in the video, like it's about a trans-related issue. You know a trans man who would be more than up for that? That would be a good idea. If this other one doesn't get back to me. Oh, goodness. Very graphic, and the punctuation was terrible. Wait, are you talking about your, found a photo of everything that he wrote when he hacked? Oh my goodness. It sounds like you've got a really unfortunate situation there with it. I hope you can get that sorted out. It sounds really awful. Effie Dragon, welcome to the Rogue Room. You doing great? I'm doing great too, V. Well, I had to there's the thing that's going on right now, and honestly, I'm so thankful that it's finally drying up, but we're not out of the woods yet. For those who are unaware, the area I live in, New South Wales, is currently going through flooding season. It's great. It's fantastic. It's awesome. There are lots of roads closed because of flooding. Not very poggers, if I'm honest with you. It is not very poggers. And I do delivery driving for, well, I attempt to earn some money from it. I did one delivery today, which equated out to about $13 after 40 minutes driving around. The guy lived about 5, maybe 10 minutes from the location that he ordered his food from. Took me 40 minutes to drive around, continually coming across road closed signs. Climate change is real, for the record. What was it Lara said? We've had 2 once in a century floods in the span of like 6 years or something like that. So after that one delivery, I cancelled the rest of my shift. I'm like, I'm not doing this shit. I'm not fucking doing this shit. I'm as soon as I am able to, I'm looking at other temp jobs because I can't keep doing that garbage. That's fucking rubbish. Not to mention, the work has been dog shit to begin with. There's no benefits to this particular gig, so I'm dropping it as soon as I possibly can. Anyway, am I wet or am I dry? I'm dry. Where I live, like, my driveway floods a little bit. But we live on a hill, and the water levels here don't rise that high. Fortunately, where I live, they don't rise that high. And I'm up the hill, so we're away from the water for the most part. Thankfully. But yes, it's also really, really worth noting to anyone in New South Wales, please stay safe. It's looking like there are a number of areas that are going to be absolutely destroyed by these floods. And there are things the government could do to protect people, like reinstating floodplains and the like, instead of building up real estate. Who had 2 times plagues on your apocalypse checklist? Floods, fires, plagues, both COVID and liberals. Are you allowed to whisper the link to me? I'm probably not going to look at it on stream, honestly. But if you wish to, yes. That's a very unusual thing to say about floods that are affecting Australia. Sumas. Anyway. Do it. Oh, yeah, the spiders! Yes, actually, let's talk about the spiders. Can we talk about the spiders? This is funny. This is fucking... I mean... If you are arachnophobic or like snakeophobic, whatever it would be.
Welcome back,
Pam.
supporter of the cause.
Thank you for the sub, lovely.
So glad you're back up and streaming.
Thank you. Also, for those of you who missed it, I'll fucking stop auto-playing everything, you cunt. Jesus Christ on a cock. I'm sorry, I need to stop for a second. I need to sort this out like now. I need to sort this shit out fucking now, okay? This needs to stop yesterday. If there is a mod in chat who can do that poll, type /poll and do Fox's poll there. Mods, you can do that shit. I need to put an end to this now. We are shutting this down. Stop autoplay next, stop autoplay future. How is this not an extension yet? Chrome. The fuck? How is there not an all-encompassing stop your fucking autoplay extension for Chrome? Chrome, please. We need this. This is unacceptable. Why is it that when I have to look at any of these fucking websites, they automatically start playing the videos? I don't want to hear your shit. I don't want to hear whatever the fuck you have to say. I'll watch your video on my own time. Allow me to open an article without immediately being blasted by whatever fucking video you put together with your sappy, shitty music. Anyway. Hello, Unicorn. How you doing? Beat you to... Oh, so we got the poll. We got the poll. I am mad. I'm going to go spiders because I like spiders.
On you.
Pam, thank you so much.
I love that butterfly is less of a slur outside of the US, and Jesus Christ on a cut is my new favorite thing.
I love that butterfly is less of a slur. That's fucking great, mates. That's fucking great. Okay, so for those who missed it, this is not one of the stories. I love my sensor. I love the way that my bot censors words. I should not let it do that because then it'd be amazing to hear the bot saying swear words, but it also leads to fantastic moments like that. Let's be honest with ourselves. Okay, so this is not one of tonight's major news stories, except for the fucking autoplay shit. That can be one of our major news stories. Okay, oh my god, that's horrifying. I love spiders, don't get me wrong. I adore them, but holy shit. Mentally prepare yourselves, friends. Okay. Record-breaking floods in southeastern Australia have caused a mass animal exodus to higher ground, with spiders in particular surging onto people's lands and into their homes. Rains have been inundating communities since Thursday, but parts of the east coast tipped into crisis on Saturday as a major dam overflowed, adding to swollen rivers and causing flash flooding. There's a tongue twister for you. Iris wristwatch, Swiss wrist. How you doing, Hailstorm? On Monday, New South Wales Premier Gladys Berejiklian announced that nearly 18,000 people have been evacuated from flood-hit regions in the state, and locals took to social media to show that thousands of animals have been on the move too. Oh my god, look at them! It just looks like little bits of grass until you look closely and you're like, that's a lot of spiders! That is a lot of spiders! Look at the spiders. Matt Lovenfoss has been posting Facebook updates from his family's farm in Kinchela Creek, including the photo above. All the brown you can see is spiders trying to beat the floodwater, he wrote in the caption. Lovenfoss grew up on the farm and told CNN he experienced similar flooding in March 2001 and March 2013. On both occasions, the floodwaters pushed spiders toward the house, which is the highest point on the property. It's still raining here and the floodwater is still rising. The water is getting close to our home, said Lovenfoss. In the morning it should be inside and the spiders will be all over the house. However, Lovenfoss plans to stay put in his two-story home. Spiders. Oh, goodness. Anyway, my family has lived here forever. I have grown up here and we feel safe, he said. Spiders aren't the only animals seeking refuge from the water, Lovenfoss added. The trees are full of snakes, he said. If you take the boat out over the paddock, they swim towards it trying to get on something dry. Same with the spiders. That might sound like the stuff of nightmares for some, but Lovenfoss is unperturbed. I grew up here on the farm, so I've always been around snakes, spiders, and all the other animals, so they don't bother me, and usually we don't cross paths too often. But when the flood comes, they have to find somewhere to get dry. Have you folks ever had the experience, if you're in Australia, I dare say you probably have to some extent seen this, but huntsmans are fairly common in Australia. Unicorn, there's that, and hydration. Huntsmen are fairly common in Australian households. In fact, my mother has just got a little baby huntsman living in her house right now, which will stay there until it's fully grown. It's going to become a little semi-permanent resident for a while. Huntsmen tend to hang around, right? And they're good. They hunt cockroaches and flies and everything. Like they kill bugs. You like huntsmen. Trust me, you like huntsmen. Or huntsmen, whatever. They're great. They're an awesome little spider. They grow pretty big. They're like they're easily around that size, right? When they're fully grown. Hunts people, yes. Let's be gender neutral with them. But what tends to happen sometimes, especially in suburban homes, is you'll get a huntsman that'll get pregnant, have a ton of babies, and your ceiling will be covered in huntsman babies for a while. I've seen it happen. Oh my god, sorry, I picked the mic. I've seen it happen in my own house. Not the house I'm in now, in a previous house I lived in. In my mother's house a couple of times. I've been to friends' places where they've had huntsmen living in the roof. It's just... There's so many little 8-legged creepy crawlies all over the place, and a lot of you won't like that. I know, but I'm a spider girl. I like spiders. Yeah, video also goes with what you said about baby huntsmen. This swarm of spiders. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at a swarm of spiders. Brother, get the flamer. Oh, it's a 40k thing.
Brother, get the flamer. The heavy flamer.
What game is this? What game is that? I know there's like a bunch of 40k games. Space Hulk. I've heard good things about Space Hulk. Is it good? I haven't played it. The only 40k game I've actually sunk time into and I loved it was Space Marine, and they need to bring back Space Marine. Holy shit, dude. Space Marine was a very basic bitch kind of game. It was just Gears of War without a cover system, but it was fucking good. Holy shit. They need to bring that game back. Oh my god. Space Marine was an amazing mid-tier game, and we need more of that. At any rate, let's come back to the spiders for a moment. Let's come back to these spiders, and then we'll come back to yours, NBSP. Melanie Williams from the New South Wales town of Maxville also posted a spider update on Facebook. So many spiders, in capital letters, from the floodwater, she wrote, alongside a video of hundreds of arachnids crawling over what looked like garage doors. TikTok user Shania Varley also uploaded a video showing spiders swarming on a fence as floodwaters churned below. They will climb up your legs to get to shelter as well, the caption reads. I'm sure you loved reading that bit. Loved hearing that. The wet weather is set to continue, and Berejiklian predicts more people may be evacuated. The situation is evolving, the heavy rainfalls are going to continue, and we are now seeing alerts issued for weather warnings for the Illawarra and South Coast, she said. I don't know any time in our state's history where we had these extreme weather conditions in such quick succession in the middle of a pandemic, she added. That's kind of like, that reminded me, honestly. Like, how many times have we had... Please stop, okay. Well, there's a little bit more spider. We've gotten into the spiders thing now. Let's just continue with the spiders. It reminds me of, oh my goodness, woman horrified after finding huge huntsman spider perched in her shower. Jesus. Spiders, man. You can look that one up yourself if you would like to. Sabercat, how you doing? You can look at that one yourself, folks. That's okay. Okay, so hang on. Let me just Kathy Cox consulted a spider identification group on Facebook after discovering the female arachnid perched near the ceiling in the bathroom of her home in Perth, Australia. Despite her fears, Ms. Cox asked members whether it could be wise to try to move the spider, saying, I have what I believe to be a beautiful huntsman in my shower. She is out of harm's way, but should I relocate her? Heart racing at the thought of the latter. Let me see here. I cannot imagine more horrifying things than her getting a little steamy, losing her footing, and dropping onto your shoulder in the shower. Oh, fuck. Okay, we gotta stop with the spiders. It's creeping me out now. Yeah. I like spiders. I enjoy them, but I don't want them dropping on me in the shower. No, it's not a good thing. What a beautiful big girl. She just wants to take a shower. Huntsman and all the babies. I'm gonna scare everyone off. Oh, yeah, no, we're not watching it. Okay, no. Goodness me. Oh my goodness. Alright. No. Alright. We're done with spiders. We're done with... No. Can we move on to the mice? Oh my god, this mice. At least mice are cute. When I was a kid, my mother was dating a man, which was a bad idea. Just don't date men. I'm just gonna try something really quickly. Is that even doing anything? That's green. What's that? That's blue. I wanted to see what blue looked like, because I've changed my lighting. I don't know if you noticed, but my lighting has changed. And I'm fiddling with it at the moment. I think I'll leave it on the purple. I don't know. That's the red. Is the red okay? What do we think? That's yellow. You can't even see the yellow. Why is it going red and then immediately to yellow? What the heck? What? Okay. Whatever. I'm gonna go with the... I'm just gonna leave it on the purple like I normally do. Okay. You can date the men, just don't date the cis men. Anyway. Something's not right. What's not right, Nike? Aside from my lighting, which has been changed. Yes, I indeed changed my lighting. We've now got more blue over this side and more red over this side for reasons that escape me. And we actually did do full-blown bisexual lighting. We got the blue, purple, and then red over there. It's like a full bisexual flag situation. I think I did the colors correctly, but if you try to find like more finer color schemes, the lights don't like that very much. Excuse me. Hello, Catalina. How you doing? Just don't date the cis. Oh, goodness. Okay, you can't escape the smell. Mouse plague grows to biblical proportions across eastern Australia. You spent 345 today. Wait, you spent 345 on what? What did you spend? 345 which currency did you spend that money on? No spiders. Warning, graphic images may disturb some readers. Mouse plague runs rampant through eastern Australia. When was this? 3 days ago. Drought, fire, the COVID-19 pestilence, and an all-consuming plague of mice. Rural New South Wales has faced just about every biblical challenge nature has to offer in just the last few years. But now it is praying for another, an almighty flood to drown the mice in their burrows and cleanse the blighted land of the rodents, or some very heavy rain at least. Sorry, but there you go. It seems everyone in the rural towns of northwest New South Wales and southern Queensland has their own mouse war story. In posts online, they detail waking up to mouse droppings on their pillows or watching the ground move at night as hundreds of thousands of rodents flee from torchlight beams. Lisa Gore from Toowoomba told Guardian Australia her friend stripped the fabric of her armchair when it began to smell, only to find a nest of baby mice in the stuffing. Holy shit, this is like this is like that game about the plague. About that plague. I forget what it was called. I'm sure some of you can think of what it's called. I've seen a bunch of people playing it. A Plague Tale Innocence is the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, that's the one. I've seen a bunch of people playing that game, and it's got a really awesome, interesting, the rats are crawling around all over the ground mechanic. And you got to get around with a torch and whatnot to scare them away. A flaming stick. Anyway. Someone that lives in southeastern Victoria, right? It is weird seeing Eastern Australia. Yeah, like what? How often? We don't talk about Eastern Australia. Like, it's not really Eastern Australia. It's New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland. We got South Australia, the Northern Territory, Western Australia, and Tasmania. Like, the whole eastern side of the country isn't named Australia anything. We could be a completely separate nation. But, we've got the Australian Capital Territory, New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, Tasmania, the Northern Territory, South Australia, Western Australia. 7 states and 1 territory. Why you should stay on dry land? Massive sea creature attacks, kills, and eats 3-meter long great white shark. So something ate a great white shark. Oh my god. Massive sea creature. Okay. Oh Jesus. Jesus. Why are we just like? Why are we consuming content about things that could end us tonight? What happened? I've lost control of the stream. The ocean is full of death. Yes, but it is very fascinating, honestly. The kind of stuff that lurks deep in the ocean is fascinating, honestly. All the stereotypes about Australia are slowly coming true. We're going to be the first country to go in the apocalypse. Every human in Australia is just inevitably going to be wiped out by this, by these biblical plagues. Did I see the mice video, though? No, where was the mice video? Was there a video with it? Oh, okay, here we go. Do we want to watch this? Content warning for anyone who doesn't want to watch mice. Okay, ready? With some chill lo-fi in the background.
In our vent. Like a little baby one.
That's not it.
It's not even scary.
It's like a horror movie. There's gonna be hundreds.
Look at him.
No, that's it? Oh, okay. I thought they were gonna, like, move the vent, and there was just gonna be, like, hundreds. The one you saw was, like, thousands running around the field. Is there more? Is there more of a... I mean, here's, like, a picture of what they're finding. Dubbo residents are catching up with 500 mice at night. Okay, there's nothing in there. The one at the top. Oh, there's a video at the top? Oh, that's a video. I thought that was just a picture. Okay.
Oh, damn!
Oh my god, look at it. Rural communities in New South Wales are struggling to combat an escalating mouse plague. The end of the drought brought bumper crops, but also millions of mice to feed on them. Plague has stretched all the way to Queensland. God. And I thought I got inundated with ants. I get ants, dude. Residents are finding poisoned mice in their water tanks, leading to fears of contamination. Well, that's great. There you go. That's, yeah. I didn't even realize that was up there. Well, there we go. When you were playing Fear when you were younger, all the rats would run before weird psychic shit would happen. Yeah, Fear was fucking good, man. There's a game I'd like to revisit. Fear was fucking amazing. You got in trouble with a relief teacher at school because you're dead serious, overbalanced off a stool and hit the ground hard. So you got in trouble because you slipped over, basically. Hello, Amesky, how you doing? At least they won't starve, what, the mice or the people who are experiencing the mice? Usually this happens in places with large bamboo forests. Really? Oh my goodness. Reloads 12 slug shotgun. Is a shotgun gonna help against mice? I mean, they're so little. When you lived and worked in Oki, we used to catch mice all the time. One time we caught them in a toner bag, so we took them outside and the magpies got them. There you go. That's what magpies are good for. Okay, so here's a thing. Big shark. Should we do big shark? According to Australian scientists, a tagged 9-meter long, 9-foot great white shark was killed and eaten by an even bigger predator, most likely a colossal cannibal great white shark. After a shotgun blast, what mice? A healthy female great white shark named Shark Alpha was tagged in Australian waters as part of a large-scale tagging project that set out to investigate the movement of these animals along Australia's coast. The project, which was recorded by filmmaker Dave Riggs, apparently took place 11 years ago, but the Smithsonian Channel is due to air a documentary on this mysterious case shortly. A YouTube snippet of the upcoming documentary named Hunt for the Super Predator gives a few details into the bewildering scenario. This stream, Dark Synth getting on the beers, good night off. Sounds good. Sounds juicy to me. Sounds juicy. I've got lo-fi playing in the background. Excuse me. According to the video, 4 months after the shark was tagged, the device washed up on the coast around 2.5 miles from where it was attached. When scientists retrieved the data from the tag, they were surprised at what it revealed. The information showed that the device experienced a rapid plunge in depth, descending around 580 meters. However, there was also a concomitant temperature rise, increasing from around 46 Fahrenheit to 78 Fahrenheit, so 8 degrees Celsius to 25.5 degrees Celsius. The temperature then remained at 25.5 Celsius for about 8 days. Yeah. I'm trying to get my headphone here. Okay. I'm gonna turn the rewards off if you keep doing that shit. There you go. Oh my goodness. Thank God for the Aussies keeping Twitch going into the early morning for us dirty Americans. This is why I chose this time frame, honestly. There's a certain really good time frame when a bunch of the big American streamers get offline. And I think I'm right in the middle of it. I actually used to stream from about 6 p.m. my time to about 12 a.m. my time, which I think is right in that sweet spot. I may go back to that at some point because, quite frankly, I've been feeling this thing where it's we get to the end of a 3-hour stream and we're it's not enough. I want to be live even longer, but at the same time, I don't want to sabotage my progress by if I go live longer, are people going to tune in earlier? Hello, NYC Gamer, how you going? I did hit the gym today. I did cardio and core, cardio and abs. These abs, Abby's abs. Look at that shit. I mean, it's not really. It's they're okay, I suppose. Anyway. Start at 10 a.m. in the UK, which is honestly a great start today. Well, that's what we like to hear. I like to hear it. Who complimented my highlight before? My highlighting. Because thank you very kindly for complimenting my makeup. Somebody did and I missed it and I just remembered it. Climate state, yeah, Americans will say climate change not real because it's still snow. These floods are a blatant representation of climate change. You You're able to go for your normal daily walks for your days off and first time in almost a week. Well, that's good. Climate change. I mean, the Texas snowstorm is a heavy indicator. Oh, this is why we don't call it. Well, no, they say global warming isn't real, right? But no, climate change absolutely is real. We don't call it global warming anymore, even though that is what it is. The world is warming. It's gaining like an average of 2 degrees Celsius a year or something like that, I think. Or 1 to 2 degrees Celsius a year, which should not happen. That should not be happening. And I hate when people will say, like, when we say this could lead to an extinction event, and people will just say, oh, well, yeah, extinction events happen all the time. What a fucking shitty viewpoint to take. Anyway, they'll just blame the gays. Climate change is real because this time last year we were still dying of heat, now we're dying of hypothermia, yeah. So it's not a good situation all around, honestly. It's a bit shit. And yeah, the midriff. I'm pretty happy with the way my core looks. I'm liking it. I hate that when, I mean, I know this is just what happens, but I hate that when I sit down and I've got like rolls there still. Even though I know I have good abs, and like you could see that, like that line down the middle there, that's like my upper abdominal muscles showing through. It's like, if I got my body fat percentage down even lower, I'd have visible abs. But I'm also only about 70 kilos, which is honestly underweight for my height. Shh, don't tell anyone. I have an unhealthy body image issue. Anyway, take it as a compliment when the bigots think us gays are powerful enough to destroy the world. Hey, we stole the rainbow from God. So, the gays are fucking amazing. About the mice, one farmer he had spoken to had lost a crop worth 200 to 300,000 to the insatiable creatures. He had a 1,000-ton crop of green sorghum, which is a complete write-off. They ate the lot. They baited it 5 times to try and suppress the mice, but they just ate the lot. Jesus Christ. That's fucked. Isn't that them admitting the gays are more powerful than their God, who has a plan for everything? Yeah, my favorite counter-argument to those who are God-fearing types is that it's like, if God created everything, how can being gay be a sin against God if God created the gays in the first place? Not to mention that little passage in the Bible. That little passage in the Bible that goes on about how a man should not lay with another man as with a woman. It is a sin, or something like that. I forget the exact phrasing. It was actually changed to be, it was changed from a man should not lay with a boy. They don't like to mention that, funnily enough. Anyway, always had a question as a kid. Yes, indeed. What is it? Prefer Grodd. Grodd is amazing. I barely even know. I barely know anything about Grodd, but giant psychic gorilla is just a yes from me. Ex-mother-in-law once complained about how the gays stole all her favorite things: rainbows, dolphins, butterflies, etc. She was like, why are you more up on queer symbolism than me? Yeah, funny how the Catholic Church didn't want anti-pedophilia sentiments in the Bible. Funny that. Shellfish, mixed fabric, slavery. Most Christians can't even name most of the 10 Commandments. In America, it's called American exceptionalism. Yeah, who made God? I hate how they'll use that actual argument. It's like, well, there must be a divine creator if everything else was created. And it's like, okay, well, who created God then? What came before God? How do you chicken and egg this situation? Hey, Black Cat, how's it going? I've got a bunch of articles here that I haven't even touched on. 24 seconds that kills the concept of God. Okay, hang on. Hang on a second, this is 23 seconds. Alright. The Riddle of Epicurus. Here we go.
Is God willing to prevent evil, but not able? Then he is not omnipotent. Is he able but not willing? Then he is malevolent. Is God both able and willing? Then whence cometh evil? Is he neither able nor willing? Then why call him God?
Done. We're finished. This became God bashing very fast. I mean, I'm all about God bashing, honestly. Let's just bash God. That's a sociological concept, isn't it? Is that about sociology? Should I get into theology instead? Should I just ditch the sociology thing and go back to theology? Because I was heavy into the theology shit a few years ago. Into the concept of researching every little tiny annoying detail about religion. General Kenobi! How you doing, Kiara? How's it going? We are God bashing, apparently. This got to the anti-theism really quickly. We love a bit of Epicurus. Epicurus. We love a bit of Epicurus. Was it Epicurus that said death is nothing to us? We did read that passage on the cocktail night when Calgar and Jacinta and all them were here. I believe it was Epicurus. Going to start your show soon? Sounds good. I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. Yeah, I'm doing alright. Yes, it was Epicurus that said death is nothing to us. Let's revise this really quickly. One of the obstacles to enjoying the peace of a tranquil mind, Epicurus reasons, is the fear of death, and this fear is increased by the religious belief that if you incur the wrath of the gods, you will be severely punished in the afterlife. But rather than countering this fear by proposing an alternative state of immortality, Epicurus tries to explain the nature of death itself. He starts by proposing that when we die, we are unaware of our death, since our consciousness, our soul, ceases to exist at the point of death. Thereby, fearing death is kind of nonsensical in its own way, because when it happens, you're not going to experience it yourself. You're not going to have some overwhelming grief. I suppose, like, if you're dying in a hospital bed, knowing that the end is near, you're going to experience a ton of that kind of fear and all of that kind of stuff. And that's an argument in favor of euthanasia, I would argue. If there are people who are terminally ill and there's no hope to cure them, I'd argue in favor of euthanasia. Optional, the decision to end your own life. If I was a god, I'd be hiding on an island somewhere away from humans and eating KFC that didn't upset my stomach. Hey, Quiet Riot, by the way, how you doing? Just nods along with the anti-religious sentiments. Sorry. What was that? Aboriginal and you still get told you're not dark skinned, so you're not Aboriginal. That's bullshit. Fuck that nonsense. The actor who was in The Lord of the Rings as the king. Oh, yeah. I remember him. If you're not Anglo-Saxon, white or Caucasian, your guess would be Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander. If I am dying, I will pray for propofol, not a god. True. You just want to be like, do I have to keep bringing this up? Why do I keep bringing this up? It's like, as is the case with recently putting down my sister's cat, right? They just gave him a cannula and injected him with so much painkillers that his body just gave out. Right? He didn't experience anything. It was just over. And if you're at the point where you are medically incurable and there is no hope for a high quality of life beyond a certain point, and you're just laying in a hospital bed being pumped full of radioactive drugs that are supposed to counter whatever it is that you have, whether it be cancer or anything, at that point, if they have no valid ability to bring this person back from that brink, why is there even a discussion? I'm genuinely curious about this discussion. Like, why are we not at the point now as a society where someone who knows they have no capacity to recover can't just say, all right, pump me full of drugs and end me? Or, if I had the choice, if I was terminally ill and I had the choice, I would kindly ask that they break out the guillotine. Even though I know that's supposed to be a punishment sort of thing, but like, imagine dying to a guillotine, like, in this day and age. It'd be badass. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. Hang on, it says, talking of Aboriginal culture, Rio Tinto pledges to protect cultural heritage after Juukan Gorge disaster. Yeah, right. People are supposed to trust Rio Tinto after they bombed the last site? You gonna head off, Kez? Have a good one. Thank you so kindly for being here. Give me the Michael Jackson exit door. Theoden Bernard Hill is the actor. Okay, there we go. I have a great voice, thank you. I'm very, very dysphoric about my voice. I honestly really don't like it. It's nice to hear compliments on it. This was covered a while back by Friendly Geordies. But Rio Tinto pledges to protect cultural heritage after Juukan Gorge disaster. This is, again, we're 40 minutes into a stream and we haven't even touched any of the news stories I prepared. Thanks, guys. Rio Tinto Chief Executive Jacob Stausholm has pledged to make protecting cultural heritage an issue which is felt in the hearts and minds of his employees in an effort to avoid another Juukan Gorge-style disaster. So, like, why do they... It's just, you know, we could talk about why so much mining is necessary in the first place, but anywho. The mining company on Tuesday announced it would publicly report to investors on its progress on improving cultural heritage systems and renewing trust with traditional owners as it attempts to rebuild its shattered social capital. It's all about the capital. It will also publicly report on its progress in implementing the recommendations from a parliamentary review into the destruction of the 46,000-year-old rock shelter at Juukan Gorge and recommendations from its own internal review. Internal reviews, right. Stausholm said the new executive team feel very accountable for ensuring an event like the destruction of Juukan Gorge never happens again. The incident led to the resignation of the 3 senior executives, including the former CEO, and prompted the chairman to step down. Excuse me. But Stausholm said achieving that goal required changes in the company which went way beyond procedural. I think there's a lot of detail that I think you get the point. A mining company pledging to protect Aboriginal heritage sites after... Honestly, they had to have known. They had to have known. The UK Tory Minister of the NHS told staff to not resuscitate the terminally ill, over 90s and disabled. I mean, that's something, in a sense. Hello, Vanna, how you doing? Of course, like if the situation, if we're going to come back to the euthanasia thing, we're going to talk euthanasia now. Okay? We're going to talk death, I guess, because we've kind of been talking death in a sense. Thank you, Soul Reaper. Yeah. If we talk about the concept of euthanasia, we talk about one discussion that has been brought up around this is the fear that, of course, it's always based in some kind of fear, some ridiculous concept. You know, whenever someone has an argument against this kind of thing, there's always some nonsensical fear that they come back to. You're doing well? I'm glad to hear you're doing well. I'm doing okay. My day has been a bit shit in a number of ways, but we're doing okay now. This is one of the things that I find is a major problem with debates around this particular kind of discussion, is that people will, again, like I said a minute ago, will draw on fear to make their arguments. In particular, one of the arguments made is and it's only one, there's a number of them, but one of the arguments I've seen made is that if we start legalizing euthanasia for people who are terminally ill, people who have no chance of a real resuscitation, a real return to a quality of life, you know, people who know that this is the end and really they're just biding their time. You know, I don't want to stay in a hospital bed for 2 years just slowly withering away until my body finally gives out. The argument I've seen made against it is that people will try to use euthanasia laws to commit suicide if they're not actually at that state of terminal illness, instead using it as a way to... Let me think for a second. There's a thing here and I'm trying to think. As a way to legally end their own lives. If they are just massively depressed instead of the option of seeking psychological treatment. Headband is adorable, thank you. I like this one. Yeah, right to die laws. Like, I think certain countries do have right to die laws. And I can understand the viewpoint. I can understand the fear there. But I haven't done enough of a deep dive on that topic to really speak on it at length. But it does come back to that idea that's like anytime there's a serious debate around topic X, Y, or Z, or what have you, there's always someone who will bring up the fear that this awful thing might happen. Hey, Sammy, how's it hanging? Some good news. New South Wales police officer loses appeal against sacking for sending racist, homophobic and sexist texts. Good. Now, it's worth noting I'm not a grill, but Hecklin, when Hecklin stops by, Hecklin is a grill. Calvin Dunn was terminated in 2019 for messages shared with colleagues in WhatsApp group. An appeal against the sacking of a senior constable for sending a series of racist, homophobic and sexist messages to New South Wales police colleagues in a WhatsApp group has been rejected. In the chat involving officers in the Botany Bay legal... Oh my god. In the chat involving officers in the Botany Bay Local Area Command, Calvin Dunn used a racial slur to refer to an Indigenous colleague and said Indigenous people don't date, they steal. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? They don't date, they steal. Like, those are two entirely separate concepts. Hello, Bun Bunny, how you going? Yeah, I'm not sure how that's related. What? Several messages about two constables included homophobic slurs and discussed their sexual relationships, while Dunn also told colleagues to go down on each other. Yeah, like, I get the black people are thieves stereotype, but it's like, what does dating and stealing have in common? Like, I would expect this kind of dipshit to make the comparison as like, they don't date, they rape. But those are two entirely separate... they're two entirely separate notions going on here. When one officer got breast implants, Dunn said, surely puts her in first place now for colleagues aged over 30 and discussed rankings of other colleagues. Oh my god, I fucking hate this guy. Dunn was sacked in November 2019 after a 2-year investigation into the messages he posted to the group chat between June and October 2017. His appeal against that termination, which he characterized as harsh and disproportionate. Mate, shut the fuck up. Just take your punishment like a man and go. Just go home. Go pick up a job at Bunnings. Okay? Hello, Jelly. Maybe like stealing white people, like the stupid thing of sticking to your own... Yeah, possibly. Maybe he's salty because someone stole his girl. They steal people of the other race for themselves, I think is the idea. Yeah, I suppose that could be what he was trying to get at. They can't date because they're planning the next Ocean's 11-esque heist. I want to plan a heist. Let's plan a heist. Let's do some crimes. I'm gay. Let's do crimes. So here we go. Objectively consider the applicant's conduct through his contributions to the group chat was serious misconduct, she said. This is not acceptable conduct anywhere in Australian society, and the black humour reportedly present in the police force is an insufficient explanation for his personal decisions and behaviour. There's a lot wrong with the Australian policing system. It was disgraceful and unacceptable conduct, not at the lower end of scale of seriousness of employee misconduct. When the messages were uncovered in October 2017, Dunn was suspended. He argued his termination was harsh and disproportionate to the gravity of the conduct for which he was never previously warned or counselled. Okay, so I can relate to this in some way for having been unjustly suspended from the platform over something I guess I should have considered. But again, you know, Twitch never sent me an automatic message saying, hey, you can't use the name Rogue Bitch with an X. You know, Twitch should have put something out there initially, like an automated system. My nose is all sniffly, sorry. But in this particular circumstance, I don't understand how you would even think that this kind of behavior was acceptable in the first place. I mean, when I went to work at Coles, the supermarket, what they gave us a whole ethics rundown, right? They told us the company policy on this shit. Like, we knew, don't be a racist, sexist, homophobic fucknut. Like, you could have just summed up the entire interaction with that, you know? You don't even need to do the whole hour-long ethics debacle, tutorial, whatever. It's pretty straightforward, snappy, to the point. Why you would think, as a person working in a position of power like the police force, that you could get away with even in a private conversation. Private WhatsApp group. that you could get away with this kind of behavior. You're a cop, for fuck's sake. Ridiculous. So stupid. Couldn't hear you over how loud your game was, so you lifted your headset off your left ear. There have been several streamers you follow that have a similar name and none of them have had warnings yet. You should tell them, Miserabella, honestly. Go and contact them if you can. If they are having those kinds of usernames, I would honestly contact them and warn them about it. Just in case. Because you never know when someone like me might get hit with that whole thing. Like being reported, mass reported or whatever. It's a lot more faith in cops than I'm willing to give. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to be nice here. I still want to buy the All Cats Are Beautiful Antifa shirt. So, don't get me wrong here. I am not at all defending the police force. But yeah, I suppose I'm not at all surprised. I've heard numerous stories of cops who just absolutely abuse their power. And of course, you know, this kind of field of work appeals to a certain group of people who absolutely want to have power and control and thus see themselves as almost untouchable, especially once they get their hands on that badge. To be the kind of person who can be an honorable cop seems like a few and far between thing. Sorry, my throat's all like... I don't know why I get so congested when I'm talking. Maybe he was more surprised that he would be fired for saying it in the first place and thought more people were like him. Honestly, that feels like a logical conclusion, quite frankly. I think these people are the kinds of folks who were raised in an environment where these kinds of comments were just completely fine and okay, right? I'm trying to clear my throat here. I think it's because I wear makeup and I guess like maybe I'm getting foundation in my nose. Got to clear my throat out of it. Anyway, so all cats are beautiful as a dog whistle. I love that. Yes. You were deafening yourself with old PS2 games. Fucking awesome. I just hydrated. I'll hydrate some more. Anyway, subscribe to your favorite streamer with Twitch Prime. Yeah, like I've seen people, again, I've mentioned this in the past numerous times, that like I've been around groups of people where this kind of racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, all kinds of bigoted jokes are considered okay and acceptable under the guise of like, oh, well, we just joke about everybody, it's fine. They can joke about me if they want. I can take a joke, mate. But again, it comes back to that whole thing of like, he's making comments about marginalized groups. He's making sexually inappropriate comments towards female colleagues. He's making racist comments. And it comes back to that whole thing of people will say, oh, I've got a dark sense of humor. And then they'll just literally say racism. Like, do you remember the debacle around that guy that was on Saturday Night Live, which is not really something I'd put on my resume, if I'm honest with you. The Saturday Night Live fired a bloke because he went on a podcast, and I think somebody said something recently about this guy. I forget what his name is. I've completely forgotten what his name is. But he went on a podcast, and he was literally mocking the way that the Chinese restaurateurs, whatever you would call them, the people who were running the restaurant, when they were serving him, or the people who were working at the restaurant, when they were serving him and talking to him, he was mocking their accent, the way they said noodles and all this kind of shit. And that got back to SNL, and they fired him because blatant racism. It's like, you just did a blatant racism. That's not cool. That's not okay. And then people started making excuses that he made a joke about something else that was tangentially related to Asian people, but less offensive than that, if that makes sense. Like, he made comments about something relating to China or whatever, or like the Chinese government specifically, I can't recall. And they were using that as a defense. They were like, okay, well, what really happened is he was making these jokes about the Chinese government, when the reality of the situation is we have literal video footage of him on this podcast making fun of Chinese people's accents, and that's why they fired him. And people like this are raised in an environment where they just think this is totally okay. And it's one of the biggest things of absolute privilege that you can possibly think of. I'm like, is this guy Calvin Dunn? Is he white? Is he white? I'm going to say he's white. I'm just going to assume he's white, especially if he's making jokes about Aboriginal people. Sexual relationships, homophobic slurs. We haven't even got to that part yet. It was disgraceful and unacceptable conduct, not at the lower end of the scale of seriousness of employee... not at the lower end of the scale of seriousness of employee misconduct. When the messages were uncovered, Dunn was suspended. He argued his termination where he did that bit. His wife, who works in HR, had been forced to return to work to support him and their 18-month daughter and service their $320,000 mortgage, the tribunal was told. It is uncontentious that he is remorseful about his conduct, and it has deeply affected him and his family emotionally and economically. Blah, 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 who fucking cares? Dunn also submitted that it was highly significant that he had not been trained in the relevant policies he was alleged to have breached, and that the messages had been made in a private forum for consenting adults. Not an excuse. Not an fucking excuse. You should know this shit. Again, if he had not been trained, I mean, that's obviously something that police force needs to work on training their staff on. They need to immediately set down all their staff and say, okay, we're going to have a discussion about this. You know, in a workplace scenario, if something like this happens, in all the instances where I've had to deal with it, there's immediately some kind of get the staff to sit down. We're going to go over why this is bad, kind of thing, like a class, basically. I mean, just as an example, you know, this stuff should be very, very basic, surface level. I almost, given what I know about the training of cops in Australia, I almost refuse to believe this excuse that it was highly significant that he had not been trained in the relevant policies he was alleged to have breached. Like, I honestly, were you just not paying attention? I really doubt he was not trained in that. And just as an example, when I enrolled in my bachelor's, and when I've enrolled in past uni things to begin with, one major example that comes up is we do a consent little online tutorial thing. You got to watch a whole bunch of videos that talk about sexual consent and all this kind of stuff. So that's just, and I think there's also a thing you have to do before you enroll that talks about don't do a racism, don't do a homophobia, don't do all of that nonsense. You know, that's just for going to uni. I'm not even paid for that shit. Actually, I think I can actually get a government subsidy for going to university, but that's neither here nor there. But Webster said there was no evidence the messages in the group were private. I agree with the police force's submission that there is no material difference between group chat and what might transpire in the muster room of the police station, she said. Webster said there was a strong public interest in ensuring the New South Wales force was a workplace free from harassment and bullying, and Dunn's termination sends a message to other police officers that such inappropriate conduct would not be tolerated. Fingers crossed. But again, all cops are bastards. Fuck them. Yeah, can you just not? Sign here, please. It's like, hey, so we got this little policy we want you to sign before you become a police officer. Don't be a racist, don't be a sexist, don't be a homophobe, don't be a transphobe, don't be ableist. Sign here, please. Don't be an asshole, thank you. I'm a fuckstick. Holy shit. Oh god. An anti-trans bot. Oh, the wonders of technology. A Kiriakou thing. A what? That's a long list. You could probably fit a few more in there. I probably missed a few. Don't be a cunt. Yeah. As the great Jim Jeffries once did say to the world, the Bible should only contain a few words. Try not to be a cunt. The group was called the Dog Pound or some shit. Oh my god. Hello, Story Guy. How you going? You're out? You're out, Matthew? Less being a cunt, the better. So fucking frustrating. Every time you think that now it's in bloody D major. Wait, what, Sammy? Damn you, Taylor Swift. You're not doing too terrible. Well, I'm glad to hear it. Alright, so I haven't actually touched on any of my stories tonight because you've all been interrupting me like a bunch of assholes. I love you all, by the way. I love you all. You're all amazing. Let me think for a second. Let me move some of these articles around. Because there's a few things I want to talk about. Stop turning your internal monologue into ads for pop music. No. God, dude, we are so close to the idea of our thoughts being turned into advertising. We are so close. I mean, it's happening now. We are being advertised to based on the things that we say around our smartphones. Like, these fuckers are listening to us all the time. And as Witherose was saying before, you know, like, cover your webcams. Right? People can watch through you. People can hack your webcams. Cover your webcams, folks. As you might have gleaned, my setup is in my bedroom. I get naked in here. I don't want people to see me naked, so I cover both of my webcams. Also, when I turn my PC off, this little red light on my microphone is still on. These fuckers are listening to us all the fucking time. All the fucking time. It is really, like, honestly, I need to watch that movie, They Live. It's really fucking creepy. How much we're being listened to. How much we're being spied on all the time. And yet we just go along with it for the comfort of it. You know, we just roll with this shit. Keep your webcam on and get naked in front of it just for the small chance they're watching. Just leave OBS open but not streaming or recording. So just make it easier for them. The Snowden movie was earth-shattering. I might have to give that a look. Oh, the MS attempt to buy Discord. Okay, we can jump to that story if you want. Absolutely. And Demacia, junior female police officers were also allegedly denied career advancements by Kiriakou if they didn't... Oh, yeah. There was a quote I saw on... there was a tweet I saw recently that was like, why is it always women sleeping their way to the top that is the discussion that's being had, and not men withholding promotions for sexual gratification from women, right? That's always the narrative we hear, right? It's like, oh, a woman slept her way to the top. Why is it not that the men are withholding promotions from women unless they get sexual satisfaction from the magic? There you go. That's a whole thing we could do. That's a whole discussion we could have, honestly. If someone wants to watch me being naked, they're welcome to the horror show. Oh my goodness. I worry because, like, now my nipples look good. I don't want people to see these good looking nipples for free. No, thank you. I should have not poured freezing cold water into this because now it's condensating everywhere. Also, chat, I want your input on something. Sub to OnlyFans for that. I mean, if they get beyond just being breast buds, fuck it, why not? I recently bought some pre-workout. We're not doing a fucking 5-minute poll. I recently bought a can of pre-workout from the vending machine at my gym, and I really liked the sensation of being back on pre-workout. It's an addictive feeling. I want you to answer this poll for me. Should I buy a tub of pre-workout? It's so fucking good, man. I'm jonesing for it. If you don't know what pre-workout does, it's like a caffeine supplement you drink 20 to 30 minutes before you go to the gym. Lots of caffeine in it, and a bunch of other little chemicals that give you a really intense energy boost. And in some cases can give you a really banging pump, like you get really... allows you to really go. It's not the same as G Fuel, honestly. It's got a bunch of different chemicals in it that probably aren't good. We could do a bit of a breakdown on what pre-workout contains, but it has beta-alanine in it, which leaves your skin tingling like crazy. It's probably not good to consume. And I like how the poll is like a 50-50. It's addictive. It's not actually addictive. It's not. I could stop at any time. I haven't had it for like almost a year now. It's been almost a year since I've had pre-workout. I just started taking black coffee before I go to the gym, and it works okay. But anyway, is milk and pre-workout? No. Is milk and a workout good? no, because the milk curdle in your stomach. If you're getting like really sweaty and all that kind of stuff, and like you're making your body go. My personal advice for those of you who are interested in working out: don't eat anything before you go to the gym. Like, give yourself 2 to 3 hours of no food. So I usually go straight in the morning. Black coffee, straight in the gym. Nothing else before then, right? Because if you've got food in your stomach that's processing, you know, if your body is doing all of that kind of shit, it's a no with 7 votes. Okay, fine, I won't buy pre-workout. Anyway, milk is a good recovery drink while you're resting well after you exercise. Yes. I used to buy protein supplements, protein powders, and you pour the protein powder into the milk, mix that up, and it's a good combination after you've been to the gym. Good recovery, yes, but don't drink any milk beforehand. And hi, Two Notes, how you doing, Beth? What's going on? Yeah, if you are working out, don't eat anything within 2 to 3 hours of you starting your workout. And yeah, that's why I advocate go to the gym first thing in the morning. Black coffee, straight in the gym. You know, it's better that way. Someone that's been on pre-workout before, it's really hard to kick. It is. And they do that on purpose. But it's not as addictive as, you know, certain other things that you could be taking. Anyway, as you mentioned a moment ago, Black Cat, Microsoft is said to be in talks to buy Discord for more than $10 billion. Now, why do you think, like, Microsoft recently bought Bethesda for $7.5 billion. Bethesda, who makes Fallout, Skyrim, they own the rights to Doom, if I'm not mistaken, and a couple of other games. But Discord is where Microsoft is setting their sights next. $10 billion! It's a massive amount of money. Absolutely absurd amount of money. Why do you think that they would want to buy Discord for $10 billion? They want those sweet data harvesting dollars. Oh, they do. I don't think they'll ruin Discord. Don't get me wrong. I don't think the platform is going to go away. I don't think the platform's going to be destroyed by it, by Microsoft owning Discord. But this is absolutely a data harvesting move. This is the most obvious data harvesting move. Also, yes, they own Skype, and if you can't beat them, buy them. This is literally the joke that was made in The Simpsons years and years ago. I don't believe Bethesda's worth $7.5 billion, honestly. But Microsoft thinks so. Anywho. Yes, they're probably going to steal your memes. I'm sorry to say it. Your memes are now property of Microsoft. Well, they will be property of Microsoft if they go through with this. Microsoft Corporation is in talks to acquire Discord Incorporated, a video game chat community, for more than $10 billion, according to people familiar with the matter. Discord has been talking to potential buyers, and software giant Microsoft is in the running, but no deal is imminent, said the people who asked not to be identified because the discussions are private. Discord is more likely to go public than sell itself, one person said. Representatives from Microsoft and Discord declined to comment. VentureBeat reported earlier on Monday that Discord was also engaged in sales talks. San Francisco-based Discord is best known for its free service that lets gamers communicate by video, voice, and text, and people stuck at home during the pandemic have increasingly used its technology for study groups, dance classes, book clubs, and other virtual gatherings. It has more than 100 million monthly active users and has been elaborating its communication tools to turn it into a place to talk rather than merely a gamer-centric platform. Which sounds like a positive thing, honestly, you know. I've seen other services like this, like you mentioned, Skype before, Zoom, Microsoft, Facebook Messenger has got like the capacity to do group video chats. What I've seen of Discord, when I've used Discord, it definitely seems like the top of the best of the bunch in this particular domain. Can anyone argue against that? Can anyone say that there is a service that is better than Discord in that regard? There is something on the underside of my desk that is sticky and gross and brown. The fuck is that? Okay. Luckily there's condensation on the side of my shaker bottle. I'm just going to use that to wash my hands on. Anyway, points to literally every streamer that has their own Discord server. Yeah, this is a big move. This is a big fucking move. And Microsoft acquiring Discord makes a lot of sense. as it continues to reshape its gaming business more towards software and services. So first and foremost, like, let's just make the argument in favor of this could be Microsoft's move towards integrating Discord with Xbox. Now, Xbox, as I have mentioned in the past, has gone down the route of let's not focus so heavily on hardware and instead focus on software and service-based models. Things like Game Pass, like a lot of their exclusive games are also coming to PC on Game Pass or things like that. It seems very much like Microsoft only wants to sell consoles for the sake of you can have an affordable gaming box, right? It's not so much for them about having exclusive system selling software. Although, if I'm not mistaken, moving forward, Bethesda's games will be Xbox exclusives, at least temporarily. And yeah, like if Xbox chat is terrible... Hello, Detroit, by the way. How you doing? If Xbox chat is terrible, if Xbox's, voice communications are terrible, them incorporating Discord into the Xbox service model is inevitably going to be a very, very appealing thing. Now, I don't expect that if Microsoft buys this, they're going to restrict people from using it if they happen to play a PlayStation or a Switch. But, that's my first thought, is that Microsoft is looking at this as on two ends. One, integration, and two, your data. They want your data. As if you could be surprised by that. Honestly. Haven't found anything as good as and accessible as Discord. Yeah, exactly. Discord definitely seems like the top tier of this kind of thing. I've had very, very good experiences on voice and video chats on streaming. Like, I streamed Valheim when I was suspended on Twitch. I streamed it on my Discord. I didn't have face cam or anything. But I just streamed Valheim on my Discord server. And having people in there, watching and chatting with me on voice chat was really cool. All that kind of thing. That's a really unique function that I don't think I've seen any other service do. So Discord has a lot of appeal, and if it suddenly falls under Microsoft's technologies, then, obviously there's a huge, huge, huge audience there. Time to move to Gilded? What's Gilded? Can't wait for the day we all have self-driving cars, and each car comes with a bunch of high-tech cameras, and we make one of the largest 24/7 surveillance systems. Oh, it's going to be great. What about the fact that Apple has actually been... Let me have a look really quick. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Apple Car, it's no secret, Apple's actively working on a self-driving car, right? What's the bet that, you drive it for a few years and then all of a sudden they release a new model and it slows down to like 25 k's per hour permanently until you upgrade. I'm laughing because I know it's the reality. Okay, I don't trust self-driving cars. Anyway, yeah, Black Mirror is a documentary. Wait. Microsoft possibly acquiring Discord makes a lot of sense as it continues to reshape its gaming business more towards software and services, said Bloomberg intelligence analyst Matthew Canterman. There's a big opportunity to bundle Discord's premium offering, Nitro, into the Game Pass service to drive more subscriptions from the last reported 18 million after Microsoft's recent $7.5 billion purchase of ZeniMax Media Incorporated, owner of the Elder Scrolls and Doom publisher Bethesda Softworks. An acquisition of Discord would signal the Redmond, Washington-based software giant's willingness to keep investing in its video game unit. We expect Xbox to remain acquisitive to keep bolstering the value proposition of Game Pass and drive subscriptions higher, Canterman said. Discord reached out to Microsoft to gauge interest, and Xbox chief Phil Spencer has been talking to the company, according to one person. You're welcome. The company raised $100 million at $7 billion valuation last year, according to PitchBook. Discord has also held discussions with Epic Games, EO, and Amazon Incorporated, EO, in the past. According to two people familiar with the matter, Epic didn't immediately respond to requests for comment. Amazon declined to comment. Updates with analyst comment starting in 5th paragraph. Well, there we go. You'd probably never buy an Apple car for that reason. Exactly. Well, what are our thoughts? What are our thoughts on this? It's called surveillance capitalism. It is. It is indeed called surveillance capitalism, and this is exactly the kind of world we are living in right now. Might as well look it up while we're here. Here's an article by Shoshana Zuboff. Surveillance capitalism as an assault on human autonomy. What began as advertising is now a threat to freedom and democracy, argues the author and scholar. Time to wake up and fight for a different digital future. Discord is the best. It allows small online communities to have a space insulated from the net as a whole, but if Microsoft takes it, might push people to use an alternative. Possibly. I dare say at least quite a few people will migrate to other services in the wake of this news. Even if there's no confirmation, a lot of people will be like, oh, I'm not going to go with Microsoft, I'm going to go find an independent alternative. And then the problem becomes inevitably, it's like, what if a whole bunch of people migrate to one particular alternative? And that alternative gets big, it gets really profitable, gets really appealing, and then all of a sudden Microsoft is buying that one as well. Or Amazon, or whatever. You know, how long do you have with your little independence? And it's just a cycle that keeps going. We've seen this happen over and over again. Usually with game studios, you know. One thing to keep in mind is that Microsoft has a much deeper history of compliance with the US Patriot Act info requests than its competitors. Meaning selling the data to the government? Is that what you're talking about? Or let's have a look for a second. Here we go. So this is from 2019, but it's worth reading. It's worth looking at because it is relevant to the current discussion. Giving data to government agencies. Yeah, there we go. We're living through the most profound transformation in our information environment since Johannes Gutenberg's invention of printing circa 1439. And the problem with living through a revolution is that it's impossible to take the long view of what's happening. Hindsight is the only exact science in this business, and in that long run, we're all dead. Printing shaped and transformed societies over the next 4 centuries, but nobody in Mainz, Gutenberg's hometown, say in 1495, could have known that his technology would, among other things, fuel the Reformation and undermine the authority of the mighty Catholic Church, enable the rise of what we now know as what we now recognize as modern science, create unheard of professions and industries, change the shape of our brains, and even recalibrate our conceptions of childhood. And yet printing did all this and more. Gotta stop clearing my throat with the microphone on. Anyway, why choose 1495? Because we're about the same distance into our revolution, the one kicked off by digital technology and networking. And although it's now gradually dawning on us that this really is a big deal and that epochal social and economic changes are underway, we're as clueless about where it's heading and what's driving it as the citizens of Mainz were in 1495. I'm sure I said 1945 before. Sorry about that. That's not for want of trying, mind. Library shelves groan under the weight of books about what digital technology is doing to us and our world. Lots of scholars are thinking, researching, and writing about this stuff. But they're like the blind men trying to describe the elephant in the old fable. Everyone has only a partial view and nobody has the whole picture. So our contemporary state of awareness is, as Manuel Castells, the great scholar of cyberspace, once put it, one of informed bewilderment. That's not really telling us anything. Okay, so here's Shoshana's description. Surveillance capitalism unilaterally claims human experience as free raw material for translation into behavioral data. Although some of these data are applied, I've been saying data and data for the record, no one stopped me on that, are applied to service improvement, the rest are declared as a proprietary behavioral surplus, fed into advanced manufacturing processes known as machine intelligence, and fabricated into prediction products that anticipate what you will do now, soon, and later. Finally, these prediction products are traded in a new kind of marketplace that I call behavioral futures markets. Surveillance capitalists have grown immensely wealthy from these trading operations, for many companies are willing to lay bets on our future behavior. Hello, Del, how you doing? Basically, the corporations are predicting the future using the technologies that we give them our datas with. And that's bad. When advertisers can advertise you their products, even if you don't watch TV, listen to radio, and don't use the internet, if you have a modern smartphone, congrats, you're being listened to. Person of Interest is a good TV show to explain this in part. There you go. And I've been thinking a lot recently about the idea of how our we don't need the rats anymore. We can get rid of the rats. Future corpos. Future corpos. It honestly ties into something that we're learning in sociology at the moment. which is consumption. You know, how often are we just constantly consuming? And we're not talking about like consuming to survive. We're talking about consuming from the perspective of like distraction. Things like Discord and video games and TV shows, music, you know, all of these kinds of things. We are living in a society now of distracting ourselves from the reality of things. And that distraction is committed through consumption. Consume a lot on Thanksgiving, yeah. I've found this little ThoughtCo article which basically sums up what I've been learning the past week. And I thought, you know, it's relevant to dip into this, especially given this particular subject. No such thing as analog mobiles in Australia anymore, true. Sort of true. Anyway, in sociology, consumption is much more... Hang on. In sociology, consumption is about so much more than just taking in or using up resources. Humans consume to survive, of course, but in today's world, we also consume to entertain and amuse ourselves and as a way to share time and experiences with others. We consume not only material goods, but also services, experiences, information, and cultural products like art, music, film, and television. In fact, from the sociological perspective, consumption today is a central organizing principle of social life. It shapes our everyday lives, our values, expectations, and practices, our relationships with others, our individual and group identities, and our overall experience in the world. I don't know if this is controversial or problematic or something, but you think some of your ADHD is like you distracting yourself on a brain level. Well, yes, effectively. It could be. I mean, I'm not a psychologist, so I can't verify that. But honestly, we're all constantly distracting ourselves. All of the time. Everything we do is a distraction. Everything we do is to try to take our attention away from the serious issues. This is why, you know, you'll see a lot of armchair activists like your girl here who are talking about issues that are affecting the world because a lot of people just don't pay attention to them. A lot of people are just too interested in, you know, they go to work for 8 hours a day. And then they get home and they're just like, I don't want to think. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to discuss anything. I just want to sit on the couch and watch TV and drink beer. You know, they're done with the day. Maybe they want to go and paint. Maybe they want to just vibe to music. You know, there's a lot of people out there, whose only goal after they've finished with the things they need to do, just don't want to focus on anything else. And that's video games for people like me, for example. Fitness. Honestly, like going to the gym, it's not a necessity. What do I need to be physically fit for other than to look at myself in the mirror and go, fuck yeah. I have no reason for it. It's just a distraction. It's just to consume something. In this case, consuming weights. But no, in this particular circumstance, we're consuming the service of going to the gym. You know, consuming... It's another good example. Consuming music, consuming TV shows, consuming games, consuming the things that we don't need to just push the reality of the world around us. That can be depressing and crushing, but ultimately important. Things like focusing on unionizing workers, for example. You know how hard it is to get people to unionize in the workplace? You know, in your free time, you want to solve all the world's problems, solve all your problems, distract yourself, die. Busy schedule. We only have 24 hours in a day and we have to spend 8 hours of those sleeping. And then after we fill the day with everything else that we want to do, like we can only do so much per day. And at least some of that has to be consumption. And even the act of just having a lazy day and just sitting on the fucking couch doing nothing. You're still consuming in that circumstance relaxation. You're consuming the act of rest. Because the rest of... Yeah, 8 hours, I know. I like to get my sleep in. Sociologists recognize that many aspects of our daily lives are structured by consumption. In fact, Polish sociologist Zygmunt Bauman wrote in the book Consuming Life that Western societies are no longer organized around the act of production, like back in Marx's day, but instead around consumption. This transition began in the United States in the mid-20th century, after which most production jobs were moved overseas and our economy shifted to retail and the provision of services and information. Let me blow my nose. Wah. Wah. You're welcome. Sorry if you're super pessimistic these days with the ADHD. Take your distractibility. You're stuck in the piddle. I think I understand, yeah. If you walk in and the Google Home is plugged in, you just unplug it out of paranoia. I should do that. I have a Google Home. I have one of those fucking things. I use it to turn on the lights. I really don't have a purpose for it other than that. It's a very, very unnecessary thing that I have in my home, and I'm just like, I really should just toss the fucking thing. But Dad got it for me. Dad, who is the kind of person, my dad, for those out of the loop here. I have a father. He's not dead or anything. He's alive. Don't see him too often, but he's there. You know, he just has a tendency to... He's honestly one of these people who consumes quite a lot. He's got enough... Well, you know, with the pandemic, it kind of limits the travel industry. But, you know, I do have a Google Home, which I got as a gift from him. He has a tendency, or has had a tendency in the past, because he was making a good amount of money, to just buy whatever. Just buy distractions all the time. All the time. And honestly, this annoys me about him a little bit. Is like his consumption of news was often from sources that are just like quickly shooting out ideas. And I've heard him say a few things that are just parroting viewpoints from people I honestly would criticize, which is irksome, you know? So in that particular regard, you know, the consumption of information for him is like in such a way that he doesn't think to criticize the capitalistic system in which we live because he benefits from it. But yeah. Really need to get back to the therapist. It's probably a good idea, but, you know, therapy is difficult. It's expensive. More prone to mood disorders because one of the things ADHD does is act as a lens that focuses on our emotional state. Don't forget the Fire Stick or the Chromecast remote since it has a microphone on it. Goodness me. Anyway, continuing on. As a consequence, most of us spend our days consuming rather than producing goods. On any given day, one might travel to work by bus, train, or car, work in an office that requires electricity, gas, oil, water, paper, and a host of consumer electronics and digital goods. Purchase a tea, coffee, or soda, go out to a restaurant for lunch or dinner, pick up dry cleaning, purchase health and hygiene products at a drugstore, use purchased groceries to prepare dinner, and then spend the evening watching television, enjoying social media, or reading a book. All of these are forms of consumption. Well, yes. That should be obvious to anyone paying attention, though, honestly. I feel like one of the major things about sociology that I'm learning, and it's only the introduction to sociology that I'm studying at the moment, but a lot of it's very, very Captain Obvious kind of stuff at this stage. I mean, I'm learning a lot of finer details that I hadn't thought about before, but a lot of this information is just like, well, yeah, duh. Can you do me a favor and ask, hey Google, how bad are Google's working practices and what's union busting? Hey Google, how bad are Google's working practices? It's in the other room. It's not going to listen to me. My father constantly gives you shit because you're always posting stuff that is critical of libs and less critical of Labour. You need more news sources, but I can Google his point of view and see it's from local news, Sky News, etc. and trace it back to the news and I get this blank stare. Excuse me. Because consumption is so central to how we live our lives, it has taken on great importance in the relationships we forge with others. We often organize visits with others around the act of consuming, whether that be sitting down to eat a home-cooked meal as a family, taking in a movie with a date, or meeting friends for a shopping excursion at the mall. In addition, we often use consumer goods to express our feelings for others through the practice of gift-giving, or notably in the act of proposing marriage with an expensive piece of jewelry. I fucking hate that. Hello, Crooker Valley, how you doing? What's going on? How you hanging? Your veto not being able to cook for people, true. I am terrible. Genuinely terrible, honestly, at cooking meals. I suck at this. I need to work on that. Budget ContraPoints, yeah. Consumption is also a central aspect of the celebration of both secular and religious holidays like Christmas, Valentine's Day, and Halloween. It has even become a political expression like when we buy ethically produced or sourced goods or engage in a boycott of a certain product or brand, which is very worth bringing up with regards to veganism. Like, honestly, one of the things that irks me a lot about going vegan, which I would like to do, is the sheer fact that the majority of vegan goods, and you can you can go vegan without consuming those particular vegan-driven goods, but we have this particular issue. I keep saying particular, sorry. We have this issue where there is specifically a line of like plant-based stuff, and it's all like twice the cost of the alternative, of the original. Like if you buy plant-based burger patties, they're twice the cost of just regular beef burger patties. So that is an active decision made by the companies making those products. I dare say it's not because the production costs are higher, it's just they know they can capitalize on people who are willing to spend the money to go vegan and still have the luxuries of eating a burger or eating a hot dog or whatever, but it's not a real burger or hot dog, you know? And in that regard, like if you wanted to go vegan, if you wanted to buy ethically produced coffee, for example, you're going to be up for more money because of that ethical production, because those products are not built on slave labor or things like that, or just unethical business production. You listen to both mainstream and independent, but more independent, which you find better as they sound like people as opposed to the drones on TV or radio. I'm going to sit in my chair in a suit and use my fake announcer voice. At least I'm not wearing a suit. I got that going for me, which is nice. I mean, I kind of want to buy a girl suit. I want to be one of those trans lesbians in suits, okay? We're going to do that. You're doing well. Australia is okay, but we are going through a bit of a flood season at the moment, especially in my area, which is not great. All business is unethical. It's built on oppression. That's true. It is, absolutely. There is no ethical consumption under capitalism. There's no ethical consumption under capitalism. Mind you, of the deaf chick from John Wick 2, I've only seen the first one. Suit lesbians, sapphic on main. Feel free to be sapphic on main. A girl suit, yeah, I got hormones and surgery. I haven't had any surgeries yet. These are 100% real, okay? No padding. Anyway, imagine getting a boob job just to get an A cup. Like, what is wrong with me? Why am I doing this? Being an Australian, do we import a lot of food? I don't know. I'm assuming we do. There's a lot of imported products here, yes. They're called recruit suits. What does that mean? I wonder if there is someone who is trans that is just in like a full body latex mask. I mean, I don't doubt it. Big mummy milkies. That's the only reason I'm doing the hormones. I just want big mummy milkies. Anyway, where were we? Sociologists also see consumption as an important part of the process of forming and expressing both individual and group identities. In subculture, the meaning of style, sociologist Dick Hebdige, I don't know. Sociologist Dick, observed that identity is often expressed through fashion choices. Not wrong. I mean, I actively chose to just wear this tie-dye. Yes. Fashion choices which allows us to classify people as hipsters or emo, for example. So if I were to go the full emo thing, can I go scene? Do we think we can go scene? I don't think I have enough hair for scene. This happens because we choose consumer goods that we feel say something about who we are. Our consumer choices are often meant to reflect our values and lifestyle, and in doing so, send visual signals to others about the kind of person we are. How often have you thought about the way that other people present with regards to their fashion choices, with regards to their clothes, their makeup, their hair? How often do you look at a person and just quickly analyze and judge who they are? Just like throwing it out. I'm curious. I want to know how often you do this. Subconsciously. You're one of my neighbors. Could I please keep that down? Keep what down? You generally don't? That's interesting to hear. Maybe it's just, what's it called? Maybe it's just autistic people. I'm very, very autistic. But I do this a lot. I people watch. And I make judgments based on, is this person wearing makeup? Are they wearing nicer clothes? Are they wearing nicer shoes? I can sort of gauge if they're that kind of done up. They either have a fair bit of time or a fair bit of money to put themselves together, as opposed to if I see someone who's wearing like just a slouchy top and some track pants and thongs being the things you wear on your feet. You Americans call them flip-flops, and you're wrong, for the record. Like the new channel rules. What are the new channel rules? What did I miss? Hang on, let me come back to this. Don't be a racist, don't be a sexist, don't be a homophobe, don't be a transphobe, don't be ableist. Sign here, please. Don't be an asshole, thank you. Don't be a racist. Love that for me. Tongues. What about tongues? That was amazing. I'm good at this shit. I'm goals, thank you. These are kind of on point. Oh goodness. See a person in a suit or done up to the nines and you think pretentious wanker. Oh, you're not wrong. True. Always love when me running bullshit in chat spawns a clip. There we go. Okay, it's 10:35. I haven't taken a break yet. We are past the halfway point. So I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go take a leak because I don't want to have another incident like today where I was trapped in traffic for 40-something minutes and needed to piss like a motherfucker. So please enjoy my newly updated, only slightly honestly, be right back screen while I go take a leak. Have fun with that. Hey, are you being ethical in here? Listen, if you're not being ethical in here, I'm going to start raising hell. Alright? I'm going to start smacking people around the chops. Swear to goodness. I'll go ya. You better be being ethical. You better be consuming ethically in this house. Also, have I just been missing people following me? I think I have. I think I've been too distracted by everything we've been talking about. I've missed people following me. I think I've missed Detroit getting flipped off. I don't know, did I? The dread of thinking how ethical you are. How can I consider myself an ethical person if I have a gaming PC? Salt Reaper, there you go. Oh, my ring. You gotta have the ring in the shot. Anyway. Shall we? So anyway, we were talking about, so, we weren't talking about socialism. We could talk about socialism, but we weren't. Anywho. We're back now. We're back and we're away from the sociology nonsense. I really should stop preparing so many stories because, I mean, first and foremost, the first 45 minutes of this stream, you folks were leading it with all the stories you were sending me. And now, I wonder if I can show this given how heavily censored it is. I mean, I love the headline. Use paper plates and plastic utensils, you fucking monster. Anyway, hello John Gazebo, how you doing? Yeah, the first 45 minutes was just shit posting and spiders. You like spiders? Anywho, stream marker. Let's fucking go. Alright. A Canberra insider leaked footage of a Liberal staffer wanking over a female politician's desk. This is the news we're here for, folks. Politicians wanking over female staffer's desk. Explosive new reports from 10 News First of all, ew, and the Australian, ew, have further exposed an allegedly toxic culture of sexual misconduct among the Liberal Party staffers inside Parliament House. Do you recall? Back on the stream where I was supposed to get into this topic, and we never did it, because I got suspended that stream. Do you folks recall that the title of the stream where I got suspended was called Big Swinging Dicks? But I censored the I. I shouldn't have titled my stream that. Anyway, time to cut off the influence of the party's big swinging dicks and for PM to listen. This group might not exist anymore, but its mentality is alive and well. Now, there's been a lot of discussion recently in Australian Parliament, around Australian Parliament, with regards to the sexual misconduct culture that permeates the atmosphere in Parliament House. It's a big chunk of the reason why I attended that march on Monday the 15th of this month, the Women's March for Justice. This morning, Prime Minister Scott Morrison said Christian Porter is an innocent man under our law. Remember, this is from the 10th. This is from March 10th. From Mario Day. The PM previously decided there shouldn't be an inquiry into the suitability of Australia's finest law officer to keep his position after a series of allegations of sexism, sexual misconduct, and rape. Porter strenuously denies the allegations because, of course, he does. Morrison based his decision on absolutely zero expert opinion and didn't seek out the Solicitor General's advice. His own 2 cents, and we can assume Jen's guidance, Jen being Scott Morrison's wife, was enough to do away with the serious claims put forward by a woman who later took her own life. Again, I'm going to throw this out there. If a woman puts out a letter alleging her rapist of rape, and then takes her own life, I'm going to believe the alleged victim in this circumstance. And I think you should too. Just throwing that out there. Anyway, it just strikes me as like, this is a woman who held on to it. I've said this before. This is a woman who held on to this dark secret for most of her life. And then when she finally let it out into the world, she knew that what was going to happen to her. You know, like they're already basically throwing her name under the bus. Her name, which was not revealed, for the record. They've thrown her under the bus and allowed Christian Porter to keep his position and defended him ultimately amidst all of this. And yes, indeed, Reaper, despite admitting he didn't read the alleged victim's statement, You knew her at uni. She was a year or two below you. Oh my god. Anyway, Big Nick. This is the latest display of liberal men protecting their pack, and this pack, former Foreign Affairs Minister Julie Bishop said on Monday, is a group with such disgusting machismo that they called themselves the Big Swinging Dicks. Big dick name, little dick energy. I mean, can we do without the body shaming? I think I've made a few small dick jokes, but it is body shaming. It's not on. Anyway, the group name was first outed in 2009 by the Australians Glenn Milne. Members reportedly include Christopher Pine, Stephen Chiobo, Greg Hunt, Peter Dutton, Jamie Briggs, Matthias Cormann, Michael Keenan, and Scott Morrison. The claim was repeated by former Minister Sharman Stone last month. Bishop said a decade ago now that this group is tied. Bishop said a decade ago and now that this group tried and failed to thwart her career. Liberal men have denied the existence of this group in 2009 and today. Whether the group existed or not, the macho pack mentality encapsulated certainly still does. Just take a look at who leads them. I think that's enough context with this sort of thing, and we come back now to the man wanking over a female politician's desk. This is great Twitch content for the record. Okay, have further exposed an allegedly toxic culture of sexual misconduct among Liberal Party staffers inside Parliament House. This includes at least one male staffer who filmed himself. I like how they just keep using the phrase wanking. Like, this is journalism. Wanking at a female politician's desk. I just can't get over wanking. As well as staffers and politicians alike allegedly making use of a so-called sex room, which is in fact the Parliament House prayer room. You would think most of these people would be devout Christians, given what I know of our government. But, you know, fuck it. Blasphemy for everyone. An anonymous Canberra insider, for God's sake, I can't read. An anonymous Canberra insider known only as Tom has leaked photos and videos of male Liberal staffers exposing themselves and or wanking in different parts of Parliament House. At this point, I would be more comfortable if they just said masturbating. It's an uncomfortable word to read, but wanking is inevitably worse. He shared evidence of at least 4 men routinely sharing photos and videos of these acts among themselves on Facebook Messenger over a period spanning at least 2 years. How did they get it on Facebook Messenger? Facebook Messenger has got an algorithm, dude, that like literally picks this shit up. I have tried to send friends some perhaps risque photos of women in the past that I'm like, this woman's hot. Like no actual like nudity at any point. No nudity. Just like a lewd picture of a girl. And I'm like, you know, check this chick out. Like an Instagram post or something. And Facebook Messenger just goes like, nah, that's naughty, you're not allowed to do that. The fuck? So what they keep coming up. This keeps coming up with Liberal Party members, and yet the Labour left does not have a majority. Because personally we have a compliant media and they want to keep access to those in power for exclusives? Probably. Liberal man defends his pack. Yeah, exactly. Started uni a couple of years behind Penny Wong, Natasha Stott Despoja, and contemporaries in student politics. Included Susie O'Brien, David Penberthy, Simon Birmingham. Oh, interesting. Also Annabelle Crabb and Misha Schubert. And yes, you're an old bitch. That's not a bad thing. We're not ageist around these parts. Don't forget that PVO purged his entire Twitter account, over 18,000 tweets. He was the guy who broke the story for 10 News and The Australian. PVO? Who's PVO? Anyway. I received so many that I've just become immune to it, Tom told 10 News first. Some of these very same men have publicly posted pics of themselves online posing with the likes of former Defence Minister Christopher Pine and former Foreign Affairs Minister Julie Bishop, and Tom himself confirmed that some of these men worked closely with the highest levels of politics. Tom also shed light on a small room on the upper floor of Parliament House, which is supposed to be a prayer and meditation room. In actual fact, it's where a bunch of Liberal staffers and even some politicians have been allegedly having sex. I can probably say there is very little meditation or prayer going on in that room, Tom continued. He knows because he himself admitted to having sex there. For those keeping track, former Labour Senator Sam Dastyari made reference to people banging in the very same room back in 2019. I like this kind of casual journalism where they're just like, fuck it, we'll just use slang. Reference to people banging in the same room. This bloke here's having a wank over this female staffer's desk, mate. Fucking yeah. I'm expecting the word cunt to appear somewhere later in the article. Peter Van Onselen, one of Christian Porter's best buds, news editor for 10 and regular Australian columnist. Well, there you go. Also, a host on the project, didn't mind to just take up most topics. Then he saw the purge and the links to Porter was like, whoa. Well, that's unsurprising. The final claim Tom made was that male sex workers were invited into Parliament House on behalf of coalition politicians. While there's nothing wrong with hiring a sex worker, doing so inside a place of work such as Parliament House goes against pretty much all workplace codes and may well conflict with public stances of the politicians allegedly responsible. Consider this among the backdrop of how the government handled the alleged rape of Liberal staffer Brittany Higgins inside Parliament House, the fact 3 more women have come out and made sexual harassment allegations against the same Liberal staffer, the historical rape accusation made against Attorney General Christian Porter, which he categorically denies, which we just covered, and the numerous other claims of misogyny and sexual misconduct within Parliament House, and the Liberal Party in particular, and the grim picture we now have of the culture in Canberra is as grim as it is clear. I don't think they've broken any laws, but morally they're bankrupts, Tom told 10 News First. It's a culture of men who think they can do whatever they want. That really sums it up, doesn't it? People get into a position of effectively ultimate power in the country. Like, imagine working at Parliament House. That kind of means politically you've made it, right? And there they are, just... yeah, honestly. What else can you say there? I'm not going to welcome you to the Rogue Room. Cunt. Go fuck yourself. Your take on the desk thing? As a trans woman... Here we go. Let's read Storygirl's tweets on it. I think I can add a useful insight into the motivation behind the staffer who filmed himself masturbating over a female MP's desk. Violence against women oversimplifies the problem. The fact he sent the footage to other men is significant. Honestly, I can already see where this is going, and I totally agree. In doing that, he's seeking peer approval for the act of humiliating a proxy for the woman concerned. But that seeking of reassurance is cowardly in its own right. This is a man who resents women having any kind of power or agency. This is a man who doesn't care what women think. His actions about himself... I'm going to like your tweets, by the way, and retweet it, because, yeah. His actions are about himself and proving his transgressiveness to male peers. This is exactly the same kind of motivation that drives shitposting campaigns from 4chan and Kiwi farms. They see victims of their violence as non-player characters, non-people with no agency. These kinds of men are so centered in their own status amongst their peers that they see absolutely no issue with their actions. Any public expression of contrition when they get caught is pretense. Hey,
Well,
Chiller Killer.
Friends.
Thank you for the rate. How you going? How's it hanging? We're just talking about Parliament House being a bunch of wankers, quite literally the Australian government being wankers. These kinds of men are so centered in their own status amongst their peers that they see absolutely no issue with their actions. Any public expression of contrition when they get caught is pretense. They're not ashamed unless they get shamed by their peers, unless they are shamed by their peers. This is an important nuance missed by many feminist critiques of this behavior, but it also drives home the importance of men being at the forefront of changing this behavior. The peer approval dynamic is what needs to be reoriented, not what women are demanding. Women are rightly appalled at this behavior. Yes, it is an expression of dominance and violence. But ultimately, its primary payoff isn't about women at all. It's about the approval of the men they feel need to prove themselves to. It's about climbing male hierarchies. Again, this comes back to that whole thing we were discussing before. I nearly knocked my wine over there. About men withholding promotions from women, lest those women have sex with them. The whole idea of the woman sleeping her way to the top is a way of taking away that woman's agency when she's been confronted with this sore reality that certain men in power will, effectively hold that position away from the woman unless she does something submissive to the man. If there is one thing that annoys you, probably a personal thing, the Labour Party is not the left. There is Labour left and Labour right. Yeah. Women are subjects, not objects in this mindset. As much as we would like to think otherwise, this is an uncomfortable truth that all men are going to have to confront, accept, and commit themselves to changing. Zero tolerance for this shit is not a problem for women, but for men. Yes, welcome Chiller Killer. How you doing? How was your stream? What were you getting up to? Sorry, I just wanted to get that out of the way. That's a very good thread, Story Girl. Thank you for that. That was amazing. And that's really at the crux of all of this. This kind of thing, as you've perfectly elucidated. Yes, it is a men's problem. Like, one of the signs that I saw at the women's protest was like, rape culture is a men's issue. It categorically is. And it's not. Like, people have this misconception that rape is about the man getting off. It's about the man, just having sex against the woman's will, effectively. People have this weird misconception about what rape is, and it's not about that. And it's not about... and this kind of circumstance with the bloke wanking over a female politician's desk. Sorry. It's not about any of that at all. It's not about sexual gratification or anything. It's all entirely about control and power and dominance. It always has been. It's about asserting your position over someone you see as inferior. And this is really like what we need to, focus very heavily on. And I think a lot of people might run with the wrong narrative that it's just about sexual violence and not consider the power implication, the power struggle in this circumstance. Which, yeah. ScoMo doesn't care about this. He's grandstanding about this with a ship of crocodile tears, and he sees this as a political problem, not a social issue. His whole mindset revolves around male headship and dominance, absolutely. On the subject, where we're going into Scott Morrison next, accused of weaponizing complaint minutes after fighting back tears. News Corp has taken aim at Prime Minister Scott Morrison. News Corp has taken aim at Prime Minister Scott Morrison, accusing him of wrongfully claiming the company was dealing with a harassment allegation. The row erupted after an emotional press conference which saw Mr. Morrison fight back crocodile tears as he pledged to improve the treatment of women inside Parliament. Treatment of women in Parliament. Speaking inside Parliament House, the Prime Minister defended himself against criticism stemming from his justification for his response to the Brittany Higgins rape allegation and how his wife told him to imagine if it was his daughter. Yeah. Criticize me if you like for speaking about my daughters, but they are the center of my life. My wife is the center of my life, he said. But he also angrily rejected questions from journalists suggesting he may have lost control over the ministerial staff. The Prime Minister said he was stunned and disgusted after it was revealed coalition staffers were accused of filming and sharing sex acts in Parliament House. One staffer was last night fired after allegedly engaging in a lewd act on the desk of a female Liberal MP. Notice the difference. The stark difference in the way the article is written. Contrast that with, a staffer in Parliament House. This includes at least one male staffer who filmed himself wanking at a female politician's desk versus one staffer last night was fired after allegedly engaging in a lewd act on the desk of a female Liberal MP. News Corp infested ABC. Oh, it's not so much about, the infestation of it's not so much about the language. It's, it is about the language, but it's not so much about the political leaning of the language as much as it is, what's this website called? The pedestrian.tv versus abc.net.au. It's kind of just hilarious how much more professional one side is taking this versus how much more casual Pedestrian is taking this. What's this one? The Saturday Paper. Morrison government paid empathy consultant $190,000. We'll come back around to this. PM's harassment allegation dismissed by News Corp boss. In a fiery exchange at the press conference, Sky News reporter Andrew Clennell put it to the Prime Minister that the situation made it look like he had lost control of ministerial staff. Right now, Mr. Morrison responded, "You be aware in your own organisation that there is a person who has had a complaint made against them for harassment of a woman in a woman's toilet, and that matter is being pursued by your own HR department." Let's not, all of us who sit in glass houses here, start getting into that. Providing receipts for the previous story. Let's have a look. So what have we got here? In a week of Senate estimates marked by obfuscation, one official revealed the cost of teaching bureaucrats to interact humanely with farmers facing drought. Hello, Jacinta. How you going? How's it hanging? God, there's a lot to this story. There is so much to this story. comment in chat. Oh, this is what 190k of empathy training will buy you. There we go. Prime Minister Scott Morrison's government has paid consultants for advice on how to empathize with drought-stricken communities across 3 states. Officials revealed during Senate Estimates Committee hearings this week that the Department of Infrastructure's Inland Rail project had contacted consultants to advise how to best show unhappy landowners in northern Victoria, central New South Wales, and southern Queensland that the government cares. In contrast to the unfunded empathy the Prime Minister railed against when declining to increase the New Start payment earlier this year, this came with a taxpayer-funded price tag of 190 grand. It was an unusual voluntary disclosure during the hearings which seek to examine government spending but which more commonly feature obfuscation. The infrastructure officials confirmed consultants Futuri were part of a social license strategy to help government empathise with landowners along the controversial rail line being built from Melbourne to Brisbane. Senior Inland Rail Project Officer Dr. Garth Taylor acknowledged that such a strategy was unusual, explaining Futuri measured community sentiment and advised on how to win over critics. 3 key areas come to mind, Taylor said. One, Queensland Labor Senator Murray Watt asked how it had helped. One is around empathy, around getting blah. Kind of like the article. It's the article that Storygold has linked to chat. One is around empathy, getting the right tone of voice to deal with landowners along the way. We start with getting the tone of voice right and getting the narrative right. That leads to empathy. I think that along the way with the landowners we've been dealing with, there has been an appreciation that there has been a more empathic approach taken since the social license initiative. There's a lot here that I am not sober enough to read. Fucking HR, they'll fire him, of course, but not because he's a shitweasel, but because he hurt the fucking government's image. Which is exactly the problem. They are more than willing to just, push people aside as long as they start causing, issues with the socio-political image. Well, the general reputation. Let's just say the reputation. That's what this is all about, right? It's all about preserving reputation, and Scott Morrison's reputation has definitely gone down the toilet recently, which means how long is he going to stick around, especially if he's pissing off News Corp? Hello, Phage. How you doing? How's it going? Whew. Excuse me for a minute. My head's spinning a bit. Okay. I've been drinking. Excuse me. So Slow-Mo's crocodile tears, Christian Porter's emotional state during his denial, all coached and trained. Oh yeah. Not at all surprising, not at all shocking. We're used to this shit by now, right? We're used to, and this is the bad thing. We shouldn't be. I'm not drunk. I've had a bit to drink. Have a good one, Fox. Have a good sleep. We are used to this shit, and we shouldn't be. We should be fighting back against this kind of. It should be more than just women deserve better rights, like the march was protesting for. Is like we need to, as with all these women's rights protests, whenever they happen, is like the focal point tends to be.
You are now one of
Oh
us.
my god, Pam! Thank you for gifting a sub to Lilith. Thank you so kindly. I didn't update the sub lounge graphic. Because I haven't been using it. I don't like using it. I don't like that graphic anymore. I'm over it. Spent time making that and I'm just kind of like, it's useless. Doesn't do anything. He burned the Daggy Dad persona during the bushfires, but the media keeps pushing that image forward. This is what you mean when we say we have a compliant media. Oh yeah, we absolutely do. That's just exactly the problem. And Rogue Kitty, another rogue. Hello. Welcome to the Rogue Room. Where you are welcome because you are a rogue. How you going? Excuse me. Oh my goodness. You love the outfit? Thank you. I'm glad you like my top. This is one of my crops that I have, my tie-dye crops. How you doing, Rogue Kitty? What's going on? But yeah, realistically, the media is just another facet of propaganda, isn't it? Why is the tea mug always empty? Well, you gotta go fix that. You can't have an empty tea mug. What are you doing? You cannot have an empty tea mug. Get some more tea. Duh. You doing okay? Just waking up? Sounds good. I hope you have an absolutely delightful day ahead of you. Oh my goodness. What was I saying? Yeah, the media has always been and always will be about propaganda. So when you have people running media operations and all the... I mean, I kind of want to get into journalism specifically for the sake of being able to report this shit accurately, not correctly. Remember that whole US Army thing? We want to make sure the US Army is portrayed correctly in our media. Correctly according to what they want you to see, not according to what would be accurate. You have to go, MBSP. Thank you so kindly for hanging out with us tonight. Appreciate you so much. Halfway through typing, you look really pretty today when... thanks. I'm not evil. Well, am I technically the media? I'm a very, very small facet of the media. I barely fill a school classroom with my viewership. Don't big me up too much. Murdoch might as well proclaim himself King of Australia. At this point, he effectively is. How is that man still alive? He should just fall over. One of the best parts of the media. I suppose technically I am, because I am producing entertainment and educational content. Barely fill a single bed. Good journalism teach ethics that should promote objective reporting. Yeah, that would be the goal, right? Someone gets to decide what correct means as far as the use of the military. As far as the use of military, there are a few people who get to make that decision exactly. We might not like it, but at the last election and the next, he might as well be the kingmaker, to quote Friendly Geordies. Yeah, unsurprisingly. Realistically, like, how much does democracy actually help us? How much does voting actually help us at the end of the day? Not fucking much, I'll tell you that much. Not fucking much. The reality in corporate journalism is that editors have an agenda they push on behalf of their owners. Yes. They absolutely want to control everything we read. Like, the news is happening, but they specifically, like, things are occurring. We know what's happening in the world today. We are aware of the facets of it, but instead what happens, ultimately, at the end of all of this, is they pick and choose, they nitpick, they cherry pick all the little points that they want to make sure the majority of the audience hears. And I think in some ways a lot of people are waking up to this, but at the end of it, there seems to be far more people who are just incredibly susceptible to the propaganda. And the reason they do that is because they use colorful and
welcome back,
exciting
supporter
language.
Of the cause.
Vagabond, thank you for gifting us up to Fancy Badger. Thank you so kindly. Free will is a myth. Religion is a joke. Yeah, pretty much. We don't vote for someone amazing. We vote so we can keep the shittiest ones out. Yeah, I mean, we do vote. I do vote. I'm not going to stop voting. I feel a lot more in tune with the idea of voting now, though. I want to learn about, when the next election is. Who do I vote for? Who's got the best interests in mind, Voting is very pog. Can we get some voting is pog in chat? Go vote. When you have a vote on, go vote, because it's poggers. It is very poggers. Kiara! Hello, welcome in.
Friends.
Thank you for the raid. How was your stream? What'd you get up to? Stay in line, chat. Voting is freaking poggers. Stop trying to be cool, mom. Look, just because I am a mum doesn't mean I'm your mum. Okay. From WA, we just voted the Liberals into oblivion. Fucking banger. Awesome. I sleep way too much. Welcome to the Rogue Room. How you doing? How's it hanging? Okay, so, where were we? We were talking voting. We were talking democracy. Lurk while you head to the store. Sounds good, Rogue. Sounds good. And this is another form of consumption. To come back to consumption. Honestly. To come back to that concept. We consume TV shows, music, video games. entertainment, distractions, and all of that. And the media, the news media, is a distraction in its own way. Even if we're getting the facts, even if we're getting the ideas about the world, some of the facts, some of the ideas, some of the things that are happening, right? Some of the things that are going on right now across the world. The sad reality of the situation is that we are consuming propagandistic media that is designed to control the way we think. And in a lot of ways, you know, the reason we have the reason we have media with different biases. Why is it phrased biases? Why is it pronounced biases and not just biases, by the way? But that's another issue. Thank you, Vagabond, for the boss check. Joining in a chat for lols at WA Libs. Your Carl just invoked the Scottish trope about a certain person, so you will never talk about them again. Fantastic. I'm doing okay. I'm semi-drunk. I'm getting there. Can say with confidence that in the US, vote. So many progressive candidates are succeeding on a local level in the US. Well, that's good. Keep doing it. I'm really pretty. Thank you, Sleep. What was I saying? When we come back to the idea of the sociological idea of consumption, we tend to consume a lot of biased media, and that's specifically because the media, being so biased in either left or right or libertarianism or authoritarianism or whatever kind of bias they particularly grasp onto and perpetuate, is that division absolutely fuels just more and more consumption. Suddenly, you know, if we are consuming a certain type of media, if we're consuming, for example, media that makes you align with the ideas of Antifa, for example, if we see reporting that is in support of Antifa, I just kicked the microphone, sorry, then I want to buy that All Cats Are Beautiful shirt, because that's an Antifa dog whistle. I now want to buy merch, I now want to consume something, because it aligns with my political viewpoints regarding the police, regarding my Antifa viewpoints. So that consumption is just perpetuated by this propaganda that we consider our news media. And that news media, like, quite often, you know, we have one side of things where they tend to just try to present the facts in the most unbiased way possible, which is generally speaking the way I look at it. You know, it's generally what I try to look for. Oh yes, I do need to update that to include the new podcast link. If you folks missed it, I was on the most recent episode of The Inconsolables. So if you open that link, you can go to their playlist and you can listen to any of their podcasts. They were amazing for having me. Thank you so much, folks. But I'm on the latest one, episode 226. Anywhomstead of. As I was saying, yeah, like even if we go for that unbiased media source, it still informs our opinions, and we still decide how to continue consumption, how to continue moving forward. In which way are we gonna purchase this? Are we gonna watch this? Are we gonna do this, that, and the other? It's still a distraction, even if we are opening our eyes to the reality of the world around us. Homestead event. Why did that peak the microphone? Working from home plus Christian Porter has been no fun. Oh, I bet. Fuck, biased because of the lighting and the color of my logo. I feel like I'm appropriating the bisexuals. I'm sorry, bisexual friends. I love you, but I'm not actually bisexual. Bi-curious at best. Soz. Seraphim, welcome to the Rogue Room. Hope you're doing well. Love the name, by the way. You have an idea, hit me. In the tits. No, don't. Don't hit me in the tits. You might flatten them. What is wrong with me? If it makes you feel better, the bi lighting makes you comfier. I'm not bi. I'm a bicon ally. I only use the bisexual lighting because it's the bread tuber thing to do, and I consider myself a very low-level bread tuber. Half the reason I'm a bread tuber is the strawberry spumante. Anyway, a crust tuber. No, I'm a crumb tuber. Oh my goodness. Again, bi-curious. I could have my mind changed. Alright, I could have my mind changed. I could be bisexual. I just haven't seen a man yet. It's like, take me, daddy. fuck? Okay. Can we stop? Stop. I'm trying to talk about consumption. I'm trying. Don't you fucking dare. I'm the Aldi brand bisexual. Fucking yes. Speaking of which. Look at my face. Look at this face. Look at my face. Tell me. Would you card me? I'd card me. I'd card me hard. Would you card me if you were working in a liquor store? It's not Aldi Moscato, that's just Whispers. It's just Whispers Strawberry Spumante. But we're gonna get to Aldi. I wanted to buy something that was like a blood orange wine that Aldi had. I've never seen a blood orange wine anywhere. And I'm like, I want to try this. And I was there with my daughter at the supermarket. I think it was just it was just my daughter. Her being there is not really relevant. She did go into the alcohol section, which she wasn't supposed to. But, I picked up this wine, and I went to the checkout with it, and then the lady at the checkout carded me, and I'd only brought my phone in to just use my phone tap app to scan my groceries. Right? So, you know, I don't need to take my card in with me. I can just scan my phone on the checkout. Sad Hap, I thought you were already followed. Welcome to the Rogue Room. How you doing? Excuse me. And they said to me, oh, well, if you don't have your ID with you, you know, I can't give you this, which sucks. I had to put the wine back. I really wanted to try that blood orange wine. And it took me getting back to my car and sitting down in my car, and I realized I have my ID on my phone as an app. So that was dumb. I was dumb. It was stupid. I could have shown them my phone ID, which I guess I'm glad I didn't at the end of the day. I hate, absolutely loathe being carded. You know why? Because my ID does not look like me anymore. We'll get there, folks. We'll get there. I'm gonna get my ID fixed up soon. Don't worry. You forgot to. That's all good. That's all good, Sam. $3 Aldi wine was a meme with you and your friends all in high school. No, you didn't. You don't drink underage. Wasn't a credit card thing in WAP? Wait, the White Australia policy? Aldi has the best $5 cab sav. I may have to give it a crack because the only cab sav I tried tasted like motor oil. I'd like to give it another crack, honestly. Grab a bucket and a mop for this White Australia policy. The White Australia policy. Have we talked about the White Australia policy on stream before? We need to do a React stream. We need to do a React stream soon. The White Australia policy. I've got like so many news stories here. But instead, we're going to learn about the White Australia policy. Wouldn't know that the cheapest alcohol when you were a kid was Buckfast. You genuinely don't know it tastes horrible. The Wine Australia policy. Welcome to the Rogue Room Natural High. Alright.
Another round.
Another round.
Whomstediv.
Thank you, Draco, for the 100 biddies. Heard the Wide Australia policy. Yeah, I mean, I feel like unironically. No, I'm not gonna make this joke. It's mean. You just made me think of the fact that Australia has an obesity crisis. Now, I was gonna make a joke about, oh yeah, there's a Wide Australia policy because there's a lot of fat people. That's mean. That's for all of you who made me think of that joke. You know what I hate? You know what I hate? I honestly hate this. I really fucking hate this. I hate that I know so many slurs. I deal with intrusive thoughts on a constant basis. Like, all the fucking time. From major, like, very serious, detailed, almost nightmare things I think of while I'm chilling out, not doing anything. My brain just goes to really dark places and I hate it. To very, very minor things, like if I see a certain type of person, my mind immediately goes, slur, hey, you have a slur in your head. You're seeing that person slur. And I'm like, fucking stop. Holy fucking shit, stop. I hate this so much. It happens all the time. I fucking hate it. You see for the wide Putin memes. Christ, you're getting terped. What's terped? Miss Ginge. But when you said Miss Ginge, my first thought was like Scaredy Ginge here on Twitch. I'm like, what's wrong with Ginge? She's cool. But no, you mean Pauline Hanson. Australia's capital, Karen. Which in itself is its own problem. That's a misogynistic term, using the word Karen as a demeaning term. I do hate turfs. Fuck turfs. I like turfs with a U. That nice fresh grass that you lay down. The fake grass. It's fine. You have that too. You'll be walking over your dog as she sleeps on the floor and your brain will be like, what if you stomped on her head? I fucking hate it. Like, sometimes I'll have my cat, like, wrapping his head around my hand. He's, like, shoving his face into here. I'm patting him. I'm like, I'm like, why? I know why our brains do it. But fuck do I ever hate it. And I wonder to myself, like, can we get rid of that? Would there be a way to get rid of that? Because there is some psychology to suggest that this kind of thing is designed to keep us on our toes. It's designed to keep us aware of things that could possibly happen. Like, one of the worst intrusive thoughts I deal with is like, what if my kid runs out in traffic and gets hit? And it's a detailed scenario. It's gruesome. And in my head, like, I mean, knowing the psychology of it, I'm thinking to myself, well, that's my brain telling me, protect your kids and teach them not to run out in traffic. Make sure they are well aware and keep a close eye on them. Right? That is my brain telling me. It's like, okay, there's the potential for this to happen. So make sure you're aware of it and you can stop it. Yeah, I don't think intrusive thoughts can be gotten rid of. No, they can't. The call avoid is referring to impulses to take your own life, not to harm others. Make you question if you're a good person. Yeah, exactly. It does come back to that imposter syndrome thing. Thank you, Botwick, for translib now. Oh yeah, I mentioned your one. But yeah, like the idea of the call of the void, you're close, like Demacia said. And I've had these thoughts. Of, yeah, like you said, Phage, what if I took this knife and stabbed my mum? But in my head, I look at my knife block in the kitchen, and I'm like, I could grab this and just straight in the throat. Just straight into one of the, like, my carotid artery. And, I wouldn't do it. I don't want to do it. But my brain is telling me, you could do this. You could just freely grab a knife and stab yourself in the throat. And some people don't have the... some people don't have whatever reflex it is internally to stop themselves from acting on those things. So you will see people who self-harm, quite frankly. Simply because they have no impulse control. They can't stop themselves from doing it. What the shit is BreadTube? Well, BreadTube, we were going to talk about the White Australia policy. BreadTube is a conglomerate of leftist YouTubers, largely speaking. People who tend to focus on left-wing politics, largely, is what I've noticed. You know, that's the vibe I've gotten from BreadTube. To sum it up, it's named after The Conquest of Bread, which is a book by someone. I need to pick up a copy of it and give it a read, see if it's any good. BreadTube is a popular cooking channel, like PhilosophyTube. No, BreadTube is named after The Conquest of Bread, which is a book by someone whose name escapes me right now because I'm semi-drunk. Forgive me. Let's talk about the White Australia policy. Let's do it. Let's fucking go. The National Museum of Australia acknowledges first Australians and recognises that... I didn't get to finish... Okay, whatever. The White Australia policy. In 1901, the White Australia policy... Peter Kropotkin. There we go. Thank you, anarcho-gothist. I do believe, like, the reason it's called The Conquest of Bread is related to bread lines, if I'm not mistaken. Again, haven't read it, going to at some point. In 1901, the White Australia policy is enshrined into law. On the 23rd of December 1901, the Immigration Restriction Act came into law. It had been among the first pieces of legislation introduced to the newly formed federal parliament. The legislation was specifically designed to limit non-British migration to Australia. It represented the formal establishment of the White Australia policy. Well, that's lovely. Just straight into a bit of racist propaganda from ages past. Attorney General Alfred Deakin on 12th of September 1901. Have a look at that racism. That end, put in plain and unequivocal terms, means the prohibition of all alien coloured immigration, and more, it means at the earliest time by reasonable and just means the deportation or reduction of the number of aliens now in our midst. Aliens. The two things go hand in hand and are the necessary complement of a single policy, the policy of securing a white Australia. Get a load of this racism. Insert Ross meme from Friends. So, cheap labour, pak apu. What does that mean? Immorality, smallpox, typhoid, opium, fantan, customs robbery, bribery. White Australia, how terribly English of them. Cartoon titled, "It Gets Worse, The Mongolian Octopus, His Grip on Australia." I used to freely use the phrase mongoloid. I will admit that right now. I will admit one of my failings. Do you know why the term mongoloid is bad? It used to refer to people who were, for all intents and purposes, disabled. Particularly, notably physically disabled, especially when you could see it in their face, like Down syndrome, right? That's the first bad part. It gets worse. The reason that term existed was because people associated the look of Down syndrome people, generally speaking, with general physical facial features of Mongolians. So I think the origin of the term came from insulting Mongolian people specifically. And then, yeah, Mongoloid, troglodyte, Cro-Magnon is a different one. You can call people a Cro-Magnon. I don't see there's a problem with that. But how the hell did Mongoloid get through, but Mong got caught by the auto mod? At any rate, I have tried to wipe that. I mean, I'm educating you on the title, the word right now. Anyway, oh yeah, troglodyte is better than the Mongoloid. Yes, definitely. And that's where the phrase Mong came from. It's just generally supposed to be a derisive term targeting people for either being of a lesser intellectual capacity or for just being ugly and collating the two. And that's why, after I've learned the origin of the phrase, I'm just like, holy fuck, I'm a bad person. And I've tried to push that out of my vocabulary, along with words like retard, for example. I'm trying to push that out of my vocabulary as well. Actively trying to get rid of those words. Yeah. So troglodyte, I think you're fine to use troglodyte. A person who lived in a cave, a hermit, a person who is regarded as deliberately ignorant or old-fashioned. It's both ableism and racism in one. It's a double act. It's like when somebody calls me mentally ill for being trans. Right? Not only are they being transphobic, they're also being ableist. They're insulting disabled people and they're insulting trans people. Right? But yes, honestly, I'd always known it was an insult towards disabled people, but the racist connotations of it was something I only just recently picked up on. And once you look at it, it's like Mongol. It should be blatantly obvious. It says Mongol in the name of an entire culture of people. Obviously, it's racist. That's why Cro-Magnon is amazing. The species you're referring to them as long dead. True. And obviously a lot simpler. And misogynist? Is it misogynist? Wait, which one is misogynist? Too many words, cut it in half. Yeah, reject English, accelerate to no language. Don't worry. If we have to communicate in any way, shape, or form, we're gonna find a way to create terms that are specifically designed designed to target other groups of people. We will always categorize and we will always demonize those categories. And yes, I agree, Draco, you folks should look up a band called The Who, not the English band, but the Mongolian fucking metal band. Oh my god. When I heard their song Sugan Esena in Jedi Fallen Order, it turned me onto them in such a big way. They are amazing. Holy shit, dude. Listen to The Who. Wolf Totem? Fuck yes. They've got a song, The Great Genghis Khan. That one's great. What else do they have? There's a few good ones that I've got in my playlist. They're so good. How else are we supposed to talk about the right? Look up the translation of the lyrics. I'm gonna have to do that now. Troglodyte literally means cave dweller. True. Hello, homonyms. How you doing? Wolf Totem is fucking badass. I could live to Wolf Totem. You know what? I haven't been listening to them lately. I've been so stuck in my synthwave because BreadTuber, that, you know, I've just sort of gone away from my playlist of lyrical songs because my synthwave playlist is all non-lyrical synthwave except for like 2 songs in the list. You come at us, we'll beat you with this. That's awesome. I have not listened to Sophie yet. I'm a bad tran. I am a bad tran. Sorry. So anyway, let's come back to white Australia because we got way off topic there. In the 1800s, the majority of the white population of the Australian colonies shared attitudes towards people of different races that by today's standards were openly racist. No fucking shit. Sophie, like Sophie, the music producer who recently passed away, sadly. Synthwave. Ooh, yeah. If you folks we'll make our own synthwave. If you folks donate enough money to me, tip enough money to me, I'll make a synthwave song and I'll call it Simpwave and it'll be a dedication to all of you. I can make music a little bit. Criticisms of non-white groups were based on the idea that they were less advanced than white people in all ways. Let's continue. In Australia, this idea focused particularly on people of Asian descent, but applied to all non-whites, including Indigenous Australians, who were considered a dying race. Ironically, Australia saw itself as a utopia and a working man's paradise, a forward-thinking country that promoted equal rights and opportunities for desirable citizens, at least. This attitude perpetuates today, for the record. Hey, Lily Blueberry, how you going? If you ever want to collab, we could try that. I'm not good at making music, but I have the tools to do so. God damn it, my nose gets sniffly. I hate this. The nation aimed to attract a well-paid, male, white, and skilled labor force to uphold its image. just reading these very short paragraphs is like, cool. Nazis. I have a bad headache. Can I punch your brain better? Yes, Zed. Come here. Come a little closer. Let me just give you a light knock on the head. Next up, mixing fundamental. Also, I didn't realize this week a lot of Cuban Americans that dissent against Cuba's progress towards socialism are mostly descendants to bourgeois plantation owners that lost their wealth and slaves to Castro in the M26-7 movement. There you go. I did not know that. Yeah. Ironically... I didn't realize that at first. Ironically, Australia saw itself as a utopia and a working man's paradise. Ironically. Zed, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the Rogue Room. The nation aimed to attract... Oh, we read that bit. Non-whites and even sometimes working women were seen as a threat to this ideal. The perceived inferiority meant they were often paid less, and it was believed they could steal employment opportunities. Does that sound familiar, folks? Undermining the stability of the white population. Prior to 1901, Australian colonies had seen growth in non-white migration, especially during the gold rushes as many migrants arrived to seek their fortune. Reactions of white Australians to this trend were overwhelmingly negative. Shock and horror there. The fact that many migrants had begun to relocate from the goldfields to cities, accepting work at lower rates of pay and selling goods cheaply in competition with white business owners, caused tensions. Can I bring up a point here? I think this is still a thing that happens, honestly. because while doing menu log, which is the delivery service that I've been doing, I've noticed a significant amount of people who would generally be considering migrants or descendants of migrants, who are taking what is generally considered a lower rate of pay job that's just easily accessible, because other jobs won't hire these people. I mean, other jobs won't hire me either, because I'm a tranny, but that's besides the point. Like, a lot of Pokes Coffee. Why is it not doing an alert? Aww. You're not doing an alert. Hang on, I can make my own alert. Menu log fucking sucks, mate. Thank you for buy Simpwave. There's the Simpwave. Oh, thank you, Draco. Thank you so much. I like how, actually, on the subject of Scaredy Ginge, she's one of my top coffee supporters, apparently. I did not know that. Anyway, coming back to alerts everywhere, not a single one to use. Seems like the US immigration policy, which is you had to be white and live 2 years in the US to be a naturalized citizen. It's exactly the same thing, yeah. No, that's not the wave. We'll come back to the simp wave. Once we have enough money, and I'll arbitrarily decide what amount that is at a later date. Anyway. But yeah, I was just gonna mention, you tend to see a lot of people who would be, considered largely undesirables. This is the problem that we have with the idea of Australia being the country of a fair go, right? How many, for example, people of color do you see working at places like 7-Eleven, which is notorious for treating its workers like shit? And again, menu log. If you've ever ordered delivery food through one of those delivery food services, the vast majority of the people who've delivered to my house have been people of color who probably speak English as a second language. It's like, and then you go into, hell, just go to the supermarket, right? Go to the supermarket. The vast majority of the workers there are white, they speak English as a first language. Vast majority of workers in retail in general, not just the supermarket, but in retail in general, just as a surface level observation. It's like the policy may not be there anymore, but the ideas behind it in a lot of ways are still holding true. There are certain jobs that have no job security, that have no safety net, that are largely being given to, not given to, but these jobs are largely geared towards people who they don't want to offer security and safety nets to. Anyway. Oh my god, you're beautiful. My pronouns are she, her, Madam Claire. Between September 2015 and February 2020, 7-Eleven back paid more than $176.3 million in wages, interest, and superannuation to 4,043 current and former franchise employees. Join your fucking unions. Absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely, yes. Many IGA workers you've seen are indigenous or elderly. Actually, very good point. IGA is one of the better ones in this regard. IGA being the independent growers of Australia. Draco, thank you for gifting a sub to Madam Claire Sentient. We've just hit our daily sub goal. Fuck yeah. Sick nasty, mate. Love it. Anywho. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. What I've seen of the way IGA hires in the numerous locations I've been to an IGA, yeah, they generally have pretty open hiring policies. You go to more populated, you gifted 3 months. You gifted 3 months. You didn't just gift a tier 1, you gifted 3 months of a tier. Oh my god. What the fuck? Yeah, I did the okay. I'm in the alt-right now, despite the fact that I constantly speak against it. You are free to now cancel me yet again. Madam Claire, welcome officially to the Rogue Room. Enjoy your 3 months. Thanks to Draco, you fuckwit. Goodbye, I'm being cancelled again. I'm a political streamer, so it makes sense. I'll get cancelled every week from here on out. Is that a bunny emote? That's a bunny emote. I lost my sub to bunny. I didn't resub. Oh, I don't sub anyway. And the only time I ever sub to anyone is if someone gives them to me because I'm poor. Abby Beck officially cancelled. Society. I'm too drunk. You folks, you are taking advantage of a drunk woman with your chat. Nazis everywhere. Not a single one being cancelled. What am I doing preaching left-wing politics on Twitch? Why don't I just start an alt-right YouTube channel? Like that person who was pretty well known on streamer Twitter until she turned out to be a massive alt-right cunt. There's money in it. She's got hundreds of thousands of subscribers now. What am I doing with this shit? I could be making fat fascist bucks if I just pandered to a bunch of people who can't read. Why am I doing this shit? Not Shenbap Hero. Drunk on Aldi. It's not Aldi, it's Whispers. It's from Liquorland. I could get fash bucks. You kidding me? Leash, how you doing? How's it going? Hello, the Lavender Yeti. Thank you for saying I'm awesome. Thank you so kindly. Rest in peace. Literally, though. It honestly fucking annoys me as someone who has standards. As someone who has unironic standards about her politics. It annoys me how easy it is for people to just push bullshit that's based in no reality whatsoever. It's entirely based on laws and falsehoods and fabrications to fire up an audience of literal imbeciles. But those imbeciles happen to have money and no political standards aside from exclusion and degradation and hatred. And there are a lot of people who just feed into this shit constantly. Mikey Beats, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the Rogue Room. Sure, Murdoch will bankroll more fashy nonsense. I've honestly, very honestly, seriously, alt-right reactionary channel that secretly preaches left-wing policy. If I could get away with it, I would. I would be very... I've been tempted at times to do like an online persona that's like no face, just like a video with no face on it that just preaches a bunch of alt-right garbage and feeds into, like, quite frankly, let me just look up, for example, let me just go on YouTube really quickly. I thought about doing a channel that preaches that alt-right garbage just for the sake of money bucks. If I look up transgender on YouTube, how many videos... I just searched... Don't look. I just searched the phrase transgender on YouTube. How many videos do you think it is down the list before I get a transphobic channel? Just as an example. Don't look. Don't search it yourself. Give me an example. 2 videos and then Joe Rogan. We get 2 videos and then Joe Rogan. And then we scroll down a little bit further, more Joe Rogan clips. How much further? There was a few stories I was reading recently, and eventually it gets mixed in. But there's a lot of just, if you search certain topics on YouTube, you will inevitably, and like this comes back to the it's the algorithm. Sorry, Caps Lock, that's alright. So glad I'm on Twitch, thank you. Your drag pronouns are she, her. Your usual pronouns are she, he, she. There you go. Idea of the Madame Claire sentient persona is that she's your drag persona. She makes you no money whatsoever, but it's fun and hey, destroying rules about gender. Fuck yes. Yeah, when am I going to get the extreme transphobes? But the issue with, even if you are as left-wing as... Fucking Christ, shut up. Even if you are as left-wing as humanly possible, and you are only ever searching left-wing ideas on YouTube, on Twitch even. The problem that we face is that YouTube specifically... I'm reminded of a story of someone... And again, this is the way the algorithm works, the way the algorithm dictates what kind of content to push you towards. But there was a story of a guy who was just watching Call of Duty montages. That's it. That's all he was watching. Just Call of Duty montages. And he just had them on loop. Or like on autoplay or whatever, so it would just automatically play the next Call of Duty montage. And eventually it started playing a Ben Shapiro video. It just immediately automatically directed into a Ben Shapiro video, and he's like, what the fuck? I don't want to watch Ben Shapiro, I'm not interested in this. But YouTube, because again, the algorithm has decided based on what other people are viewing, has said to this person, well, you like Call of Duty, other people like Call of Duty, those other people also happen to watch Ben Shapiro videos. We're going to send you a Ben Shapiro video. And that's how YouTube's algorithm works, especially with regards to autoplay and recommendations. It'll pick up on certain things and it'll immediately connect you to other things that have been blown up by the alt-right, effectively. People like Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder, negative, alt-right, ill-informed, false flagging kinds of content, bad faith kind of content. One day you're watching a Call of Duty montage, the next you're watching Ben Shapiro and start to think trans people are degenerates. Unironically, I used to watch the JRE Clips channel. I've unsubscribed from it now. Christian Imposter, welcome to the Rogue Room. I had to read that for a second. I'm like, there's a potential for a good pun there about Christian Porter, but never mind. You used to listen to Skyrim videos while playing TES until YouTube started auto-playing no bullshit videos. Fuck COD, Pollock is way better. The problem is, and again, I've said this on numerous occasions, the internet, especially with regards to people who are perhaps socially excluded by and large, tends to pander to these alt-right viewpoints because it means you don't have to think for yourself too much, it just gives you something to be angry at. And a few years ago I was going down that pipeline with Reddit. I was subscribed to the atheism subreddit, which again, I'm still an atheist, but I'm not super loud and proud about it. I was subscribed to subreddits like Fat People Hate and Tumblr in Action, all these things that make fun of pretty far left viewpoints, like these particular communities, and conservative commentators nowadays and all of these kinds of things will take the most extreme examples. Think about the way that the Twitch community responded to Ferociously Steph when it was announced that she was going to be a part of the Twitch Safety Council, right? The Twitch Safety Advisory Council, right? Because Steph is pretty out there, honestly, with the deer stuff, with her reaction to the way the community responded to her being on the council in the first place. A lot of the Twitch community reacted extremely negatively because that's the response that is given with regards to people that fall outside of that very centrist norm. You know, a lot of these people tend to think of themselves as someone who's like, oh, I don't really care what the transgenders do as long as they don't get so extreme with their viewpoints and start transing all the school kids, which is not happening. But they take the most extreme viewpoints they possibly can find, and then that's what gets spread. It's very, very easy to fall into this mindset of hating something because you extrapolate, like you take the most extreme viewpoint of a very far leftist and you extrapolate that to include all leftists, right? And it makes, like, if we talk about the trans community, what do the right often think about the trans community? We're men in dresses with brightly colored hair and deep voices who are going into women's bathrooms and saying, this is my woman's body. You know, because they've seen extreme examples of this particular idea and they extrapolate and they immediately associate that with the entire trans community. And the same thing with, like, people will go and they'll say that the Nazis, this is like as far as you can go with this shit, they'll say the Nazis were a left-wing group rather than considering they were an authoritarian fascist group. Anyway, sorry, I got off on a tangent there. I hope you enjoyed that one. You still watch JRE, but only the clips that you can discern that you agree with, so most of his transgender videos are not on your watch list. Yeah, I don't think Joe Rogan is explicitly bad. The unfortunate reality of the situation, though, is that he continues to bring on these fuckwit commentators. Likewise, people in the open source and Linux stuff that you like seem to eventually use alt-right language unironically sooner or later. That fucking sucks. In good news, though, Steven Crowder has heart problems. You know, you were surprised as everyone else to learn he has a heart. What made me change? I'm not sure. I think there was a point at which I drifted from all of that content just naturally. I just started not paying attention to the old communities I used to look at. I stopped browsing r-atheism. I think Tumblr in Action and Fat People Hate both got banned on Reddit, which was a fucking good idea. Kudos to Reddit for that one. Because inevitably, I think, why is the auto mod fucking censoring fuck? Shut the fuck up, auto mod. Anyway, as I was gonna say, I'm gonna sit here real like chill and shit. Hope you enjoy this. Is this a vibe? This is a vibe. Anyway, as I was gonna say, I think Reddit banning those hateful communities, like Fat People Hate in particular, slowly skewed me towards the thing of like, well, I'm bored with Reddit, and I am still bored with Reddit. I occasionally go back on there now, but in being bored with Reddit, I stopped paying attention to those hateful ideas. And that's kind of, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, I can see the negative in shutting down those communities on such a big website as Reddit, because if you have those big alt-right rabbit holes centralized in one place, they can be their own echo chamber and not spread out and infest the rest of the internet. But to keep using Fat People Hate as an example, they went onto a site called Vote, and their community has completely dwindled and fallen into obscurity. Nobody even knows they exist anymore. So they can sit there and fester on their own away from everybody else and not bother anyone. And in that regard, there were people like me who I think were just casually a part of this hateful group. And over time, after that got cut off and after a bunch of other communities just sort of did slowly shift their content more in an extreme direction, I began to realize how stupid I was being, and I'm like, I don't like this place anymore. It's too full of just absolute assholes. And to some people that's appealing, but as you notice some of these communities, regrettably, there is some traction in it nowadays. But back then, a few years ago, when atheism started getting really, really on the nose, I started noticing a lot more posts with less upvotes, less comments. The community started to dwindle as it became more and more hateful. And that tends to be a thing that I've noticed with a number of communities. But nowadays, that hate, especially over the last few years, Trump administration, the popularity, the propensity towards hatred for the sake of it seeming rational and reasonable has spurred in popularity. And I got out of it, fortunately. And now I'm trans. Well, I always was, but now I'm transitioning. Which I've known I was trans since I was a little kid. Since I was like, again, anywhere from the age of like 12 to 15, I've known I was trans. Hello, Jordan. How you doing? How was your stream tonight, by the way? Saw you were live earlier. I would have rated you. How you going? Anyway, we got into that whole deep discussion about how I broke away from potentially the alt-right when I was younger. Anyway, where were we? Venus, yes. Went down the edgy centrist rabbit hole, honestly. You're absolutely right, Vagabond. I don't think I was ever in that alt-right pipeline specifically. Definitely more in that edgy centrist kind of thing. Comrade Haley. Bingo bango, there you go. There you go. Yeah, it was like I was definitely sort of teetering on the fence. Certain issues I was like, well, I could go either way. You could see the arguments on both sides kind of thing, not realizing. Oh, just doing short streams at the moment, recovering from top surgery. Can we get some fucking pogs in chat for top surgery? I'm so proud of you, Queen. Critical thinking is better than centrism. Absolutely. And that was the thing, is like you get into this viewpoint of like, oh, I know this is a rational viewpoint to have. Right? Pog surgery. Oh gosh. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear it. Yes, there is surgery to become a top. Yes. It's called steroids. That's not surgery. So what is that even saying of me? Oh my god, no. Don't listen to me. Edgy centrist whirlpool is like a carnival fishing game for alt-right indoctrinators. Yeah. This is why I always say centrism leans right. Right? Centrism leans in one particular political direction. they argue that they listen to both sides and they have, both sides have arguments to make. But it's literally like one side's arguing human rights and the other side is arguing let's return to Nazi Germany. That's what centrism is. I am not a top. Are you fucking kidding me? I'm a very lazy bottom. Or maybe a switch if I have energy on a good day. Not that I think about my sexuality anymore. Sex drive dead, for the record. The worst death of a community for you was the atheist movement, which you got into in 2008, and by 2012 it became a hateful witch hunting ground or backstabbing, and you had to kill your MySpace, change emails, and reboot your Facebook as self-appointed gatekeepers were out to destroy lives. That's pretty much where I was, except it was Reddit and not MySpace. Got very heavily into that thing, and now that I look back on it, it's like I don't know. I think I had a few friends IRL as well who were sort of pushing me in that direction. Rational because I believe corporations are bad. You're an accidental anarchist all along. A hobby of yours is going to the Whirlpool forum, going to the careers jobs thread and just downvote and give bad aura to anyone in the cop thread. Simon is back again. Hello, you like my makeup? Thank you. I'm really just living for this super, I guess, earthy, somewhat natural looking kind of vibe. Like, I don't go super heavy on the bright colors at the moment. I don't know why. Reaper, that's like your fourth one tonight. What are you doing? I thought you said you get one. Smart-ass masochist here. As someone who... Nude vibe. Yeah, very, very 50s. Yeah, kind of. Like, I could go very heavy on my colors. I've got a few bright colors. I don't know, I'm just not feeling it. My only bright colored lipstick is red at the moment, for example. I want to get like a bright purple. Sparkly purple would be nice. Would I consider myself a masochist? Considering how many times I've pulled my back on deadlift because I'm just like, I need to get this fucker off the ground. And then I throw form out the window and then I'm like, okay, that was L3. Fucking Christ. Actually... Is it L3? Or am my physiology failing me? Yeah, L3. I've been to the chiropractor a few times. Anyway. Also, transit in the process of trying to get hormone therapy. I wish you the best of luck, Simon. Wish you the best of luck. I am very fortunate. Honestly, as I feel like I have the most privilege when it comes to being a trans person. Being born in Australia has given me a ton of medical help throughout my life, except with regards to fucking dental. Getting on hormones, though, was like I came out and a month later I was on HRT. Like, how the fuck did that happen? The shit? What the shit, dude? How was I on testosterone blockers within a month of posting my coming out letter? How did this happen? And then like a month later after that, estrogen. Straya, mate. Fuck yeah. Hello, Strawberry. Hey, Ellipse, how you doing? Dental and actual gender affirming surgeries, yeah, true. Like, they're not going to cover bottom surgery. And I'm still like... I'm kind of like, I don't really experience dysphoria about that. I don't know. My top I do. Could have bought a car, instead bought these boobs. Fantastic. I mean, I'd like to have the money to buy a pair of tits. Titan, there you go. Agnostic atheist, you don't believe in a god, you don't believe there is no god. It's the ultimate, I don't care about religion. It's like a 3-year wait on the NHS. I know. It's atrocious the way the UK treats trans people. Sammy, thank you for the hydration. You folks are going to make me need to pee again. But like with regards to the surgeries, it's like I would love to get surgery sorted. But I mean, it's early days, who knows where I might be financially in a few years, but without really pushing towards anything in particular, probably going to be in the same place financially I am now, which is not very good, if we're honest with ourselves. Buy a female. I could also use breast implants. I mean, I should be thankful. This isn't padded. This is just like a little bralette. And, I should stop showing off my barely even A cups on Twitch, which is not an adult platform. I'm just saying, the estrogen hasn't done nothing. Okay? But yeah, it is atrocious how the Tories treat the NHS. I do not envy people in the UK for the way that they are being treated. The trans people in the UK. It sounds horrendous. It sounds like a nightmare. Honestly, the UK sounds like a fucking nightmare. How long have I been transitioning? Since September. September? Round about then. Medically, well... Yeah, I mean, honestly, technically, around the same time that I started taking my hormones is about the time I started femme presenting, and then over time, I'm full girl mode these days. Believe in personal religion, believe people can believe what they want as long as they're not trying to force it on others or hurt others through it. That is one of the major issues with mainstream religion as it stands to begin with. Spirituality that focuses on the self and dedication to improving oneself through a spiritual nature is different to organized religion, in the sense that organized religion is... What's that F word, chat? What's that F word? Although it's a bit weird to refer to religion as something that was largely conceived of in the 20th century, but... Not that F word, Sammy. That F system of control that manipulates people and keeps them repressed based on falsehoods and ignorance of reality. Fascism! We get a round of applause there. Or FedEx. But religion has largely been used in a... Well, faith. Fuckwits. Yeah, I mean, faith... and the idea of having faith in a god, the idea of having faith in the tenets of a religion is not inherently bad. Like, as you've said, Sad, it's religious text isn't inherently conservative for the most part. It's just that most scholars and religious text interpreters have been cis males from hundreds of thousands of years ago, and of course they're going to be bigoted. Religion has always been hijacked by conservatism for political reasons, yes. Starting to see a change though. Organized religion isn't the problem. There are many progressive places of worship. That's good to hear. My religion says I can't do this. Fine, my religion says that you can't do this. Exactly. That's the problem. You can sum it up so easily. Like, you don't need to go into huge amounts of detail to just say religion dictates that certain people, often outside of that religion, for the most part, are not allowed to say or do certain things. And that's the major issue that we have with it. As well as Stalinism in the form of Pax Christi. Have a good one, Lavender. Thank you so kindly for hanging out. That's why you call yourself a Christian but you don't go to church. Church is generally not a place for free thought and questioning. You can't ask why exactly. Religion says, I am God, send me money, please. We could go by the L. Ron Hubbard church of make a religion so you can have money, so you can make your own church and have money. Hi, I'm a religious leader. Send me dollary dues. New Age spirituality is extremely problematic though. A lot of cultural appropriation, conspiracy theories, and scientific denial on that front. Absolutely, Effie, I agree. Everything I've seen of New Age spirituality... I've only had one glass. Only had one glass, dude. I'm not drunk. Anyway, I'm not fucking drunk. I sound it though, I feel it. I'm not drunk. Anyway, but yeah, like, New Age spirituality is entirely another issue, which is on the same level. It's not... if we come back around to that idea... I'm going to blame the estrogen for why I'm a lightweight. If we come back around to that idea of... one of the core tenets of fascism being a denial of reality and a widespread... societal denial of reality. Like propaganda, right? Propaganda. New Age spirituality doesn't specifically, on a widespread level, deny reality. But at the same time, it does to those who subscribe to its model, right? I've never really seen a New Age spirituality major organization situation with that kind of thing. And yet, there are a lot of people who follow those, that new age spiritual nonsense, who, for example, think that incense is going to do better than the COVID vaccine at curing and treating COVID. Or they, some of the spiritual notions are things like, if we meditate and if we practice this particular form of yoga, then COVID can't touch us. Just as an idea, a lot of the people I've seen associated with mandalas tend to be anti-vaxxers, and that's its own problem. Call it personal religion because it's you and your beliefs that are only for you. Yes, exactly. Where were we? Abby Drunk Stream went, no. Not unless we're doing nothing but revising my sociology homework. Should I stop worshipping any real religions and start worshipping the elder gods from H.P. Lovecraft? Ah, yes, the racism gods. Got 2 mandalas in your room. Look, I got a friend who draws mandalas and they're really pretty, and I would love to buy some mandala art from her. I'm just saying the general association of the imagery tends to invoke problematic themes. Do mandalas and stuff from time to time and don't have COVID. Meditation won't do it. Meditation is good. Don't get me wrong. I've meditated before. It's good for the sense of deep breathing and calming your body and putting yourself in a place where the world cannot disturb you. And it allows you to clear your head. It's good at a personal level, don't get me wrong. Sitting there, legs crossed, deep breathing, and just put yourself out of the world we live in. It can be good for you. But don't think there's some kind of Buddha demon invading your spirit and exercising all of your problems. It's just you having a moment to clear your head. Speaking of clearing things, I need to clear my bladder. So listen to more Harris Heller while I piss off to piss on the toilet. The gender-neutral toilet, by the way. Look, I had to make the joke about pissing on the toilet, because I mean, I suppose you sit on it, because of the fact that I said I have to piss off. Alright, don't look too deep into it. I sit down on that fucker. Alright, it's not like I stand up and piss all over the seat like most of the male co-workers I used to clean the toilets of when I worked at Coles. Alright? God, dude, why does alcohol hit me this hard? Like, I was feeling a little bit of equilibrium imbalance, whatever it's called. Loss of equilibrium there for a second. I'm like, what the fuck? I don't feel drunk at all. I feel fine. But I'm like, I sat down, or I stand up, and I'm like, whoa. What is wrong with me? I did just get my estrogen boosted up to 4 milligrams a day, though, so do with that information what you will. Also, my next script has not yet gone to my chemist. What the fuck's happening there, endocrinologist lady? Where's my ring? There it is. Girls are lightweights in general. Do I take blood pressure meds as blockers? I take Anterone. Is this a blood pressure medication? I don't know. Alcohol hits me very hard. The floor is made of floor. Well, yeah, it is sexist. We shouldn't be sexist. Don't be sexist. Don't be sexist against the fairer sex. Streamer doth protest too much, methinks. The elder beings are so far beyond us, the concepts of life and death don't really apply. I do like that idea. I do like that idea. Of the eldritch gods that exist far beyond our very being. And how long do I plan on streaming for? I'm not sure. I usually stop around midnight, but we're having a good chat, so I want to keep going. We'll keep going until I get bored. What was I saying? I forget. Well, we were talking religion, and again, this comes back to Epicurus, I suppose. Death is nothing to us, right? You know, why are we scared of death? Why do we fear death? Why do we come up with ideas around death? Why do we come up with concepts of what exists afterwards? Considering that death as we know it is just, you're done. Your body and soul and spirit ends. It leaves your body as your brain switches off. There's nothing left of you. You don't get to experience it. You don't get to feel it. So why are we so concerned with this idea of an afterlife? Guys actually hold more water in their bodies, which is one of the reasons they can drink more and not feel it. Well, I mean, you're not wrong there. As an average, males tend to have a higher body mass percentage, and I have lost a lot of body mass since July. I have lost 26 kilos at least. So even if it's not the estrogen and the T blockers, I've lost a metric fuck ton of weight. Like, this cardigan was at least a little bit tight on me when I bought it. Now it's hanging off me. Hey, Violent Queen, how's it hanging? Love coming into the stream for the positive vibes. I mean, isn't that a positive vibe, though? In its own way, you know? When you die, I mean, yes, people are going to miss you. But realistically, at the end of the day, you shouldn't fear death, because you're not going to get to experience other than, this comes back to the discussion before, we've just cycled back around. It's like, why should we be afraid of death? We never experience it. Exactly. And it cycles back around to the euthanasia discussion. Let's put that over there for now. Out of the room. Go away, euthanasia discussion. We're not having you right now. We did that earlier. It comes back around to that idea of, it's like the other people in our lives are gonna feel it. They're gonna know that we're gone. They're gonna know that we're going. But we ourselves, unless of course you're in that final death throes situation where it's a really, really long and drawn out process of, say, terminal illness, living in a hospital, and slowly, painfully dying. The moment it happens, like if you die in a car accident, living is slowly dying over the span of our lives. Exactly. And they're like, Romedy Cobb, welcome to the Rogue Room. How you doing? Hey, yo, Pyro Rat. What was I gonna say? Yeah, like if it's instantaneous, or even if it's slow, but not like, if it's not slow over the course of months, of course. At the end of the day, once death happens, it's happened, and you're not gonna get, your brain is gone. The science as we know it suggests that your brain just stops. That sends out one final electric pulse, and you're done. So you're not going to experience anything. There's nothing to really necessarily fear. Because, quite frankly, we can't possibly know there is an afterlife. Unless an afterlife exists, and then we can eternally suffer, which is a human concept. At the end of it, at the end of the day, that's a human concept. We made that up. You know? And that just brings me back around to the intrusive thoughts thing. It's like, how do we not know that someone who had perhaps experienced torture or knew torture exists, or any of these kinds of things way, way back when these religious texts were being written, how do we not know that they were just having extreme intrusive thoughts that they didn't have a name for, and they thought to themselves, this is a vision of what will happen if we don't live according to an ethical, moralistic set of rules. You know? And then they wrote it down and they said, look, I had a vision of this hellish afterlife. And then similarly, someone else had this idea of like, but wait, if there's a hellish afterlife, surely there must be some kind of paradise afterlife as well. If we write those both down. Yeah, I'm going in on the Bible. Well, not just the Bible, the concepts of hell and heaven. The concepts of a good afterlife, a bad afterlife, they extend far beyond Christian religion, Christian theology. They go back to the Greeks, the concept of the Greeks, hypothetical race. Greek mythology, the concept of Greek mythology features hell, for example. Welcome to the Rogue Room Pyro Rap, by the way. When you die, there'll be a game over screen, exactly. All of these ideas can easily be deduced as something that we thought of. And then we wrote it down, and then we spread those texts around because that was the only concept we had of what could potentially be an afterlife. People had seen the worst of humanity, and people had seen the best things humanity could create, and they just said, well, clearly there must be like some absolute upper tier, an absolute lower tier, like the worst of the worst, the best of the best. And when we die, like they couldn't think of what happens after we die. Problem with afterlives is that folks believing in them don't concentrate enough on this life. Yeah, they do. They don't. Like, they concentrate more on the idea of living a good life to get a good afterlife, to get that utopian paradise, and thus miss out on so many great experiences in this life that we can have now. Be a Satanist. Be a Satanist. Be a hedonist. Enjoy what we have now and stop worrying about what's going to happen after you die, because you don't know. We know so much of what happens now. Live by what happens now. Live by what happens in the stuff that we know of, and stop focusing on things that we cannot conceive of. Hell is other people. Anyone who says hell is other people hasn't lived in my... It's the best explanation that we could have thought of at the time, but now that modern age, some people still think that, yeah. If you're an organ donor and you die, do you drop loot when you die? I think you'd either be begging for death by some point if you didn't go insane, or you'd just be unable to relate to the humans around you at that point. As much as you want to get into the good afterlife, being a good person just feels... Well, yeah. I just want to be a good person. I want to give people in my life a good experience with me, and I want to provide for them as good an experience as I can. I want to provide them some level of warmth and happiness, even though I can't, save them from things that are negatively affecting them. I can't prevent the bad things that are happening in their life, but at least their experience with me can be good. I want to provide some positive experience to other people so that they have something nice to look back on. Something to be comfortable with in the moment with me. That's my ambition. I want to provide people with a good thing. Just a good thing. That's all I want. You don't stop and go, is this going to get me brownie points with God? I go, this person needs help, I should help. Yes, exactly. Didn't ContraPoints touch on this in her justice vid? Her, like, religion is just the idea that things will all work out, so don't worry about the injustice you see today. I believe so. I'd have to go back and rewatch it, which, by the way, Natalie Wynn, that video was titled Justice Part 1. Where is Part 2? This has been a wild stream. We didn't even get into prions. We barely touched on the White Australia policy. Dark Mofo cancels blood-soaked flag artwork. Iterate, welcome to the Road Room. Kylie Jenner hits back at criticism for asking fans to donate money to makeup artists. That's just Kardashian-Jenner greed. I'm just going through the stories I've skipped for tonight. Mrs. Doubtfire director comes clean about R-rated cut of classic Robin Williams film. That sounds like they may actually release it. Medical cannabis blacklisted by Australian pain specialists. Donald Trump wrote the US President Joe Biden letter from the heart. I'm just reading titles of the articles we didn't touch on tonight. And another mass shooting in America, this time in Colorado in a grocery store. Ugh. On the subject of death. Leave our dark mother alone. Natalie's fallen victim to one of the classic blunders, making a part 1 and never getting back to it. There is no answer to how or why the universe exists. Religion doesn't provide it, simulation theory doesn't provide it, the Big Bang doesn't provide it. All they do is shift the question along a little. Where did God come from? Where did the Big Bang come from? Where did the base reality come from? Yeah, you're not wrong there. Started progesterone, Sarah, that's awesome. Congratulations. Hello, Lucia, how you doing? Yeah, I know, Trump has a heart. Okie doke. Big Bang cosmology is currently the best explanation that the broader scientific community has. That's true. That is the explanation we have that makes the most logical, rational, reasoned, scientific sense. You know. It's not from his heart. It's not from his heart. But yeah, like, what we know of the Big Bang is the best explanation we got. Whereas stuff like the idea of a god creating everything is just purely based on faith and speculation. So I'm more inclined to believe the Big Bang than anything else. But yeah, this was a dark one that I was going to cover, but we never ended up doing it. Which was, of course, the latest shooting. Maybe we should leave it. We can revise this tomorrow when more news has come out, because this literally happened in the last 24 hours. Stop killing people! My God, like, stop shooting people dead. It was like just this past week we had the spa shootings. And now Colorado grocery store shooting leaves 10 dead. The police said a suspect was in custody and that the victims included a police officer. Please no ACAB jokes in that regard. We'll meme about ACAB another time. If one of the victims is a cop, leave it at the door. A suspect was... Here's what you need to know. So this is like the last update of 45 minutes ago. This is an ongoing story. A suspect was in custody and was injured during the shooting, the police said. The shots are getting closer. Witnesses recounted moments of terror inside and outside the store. President Biden is briefed on the shooting. From Columbine to Boulder, Colorado has a long history of mass shootings. First Atlanta, then Boulder. 2 mass shootings in a week. Boulder shooting is a tragedy and a nightmare. Let's pause this for a sec and watch this video. Hopefully we don't get copyrighted by this shit.
We had a very tragic incident today here at the King Soopers.
Commander Kerry Yamaguchi.
Loss of life. We have multiple people who were killed in this incident. And I am sorry to have to report that one of them was a Boulder police officer. I can share with the public today, or this evening, that there is no ongoing public threat, that we do have a person of interest in custody. That person was injured during the incident and is being treated for the injuries.
This is a tragedy and a nightmare for Boulder County, and in response we have cooperation and assistance from local, state, and federal authorities. This will very much be a coordinated effort. and we'll stand united in support of the victims and their families to ensure that justice is done. As Commander Yamaguchi said, there is an individual in custody currently with multiple victims, and we'll be doing everything we can to fight for them and their families to make sure that we reach the right and just outcome.
I didn't unmute my microphone. The right and just outcome. Yeah, what do we think of that? So, yeah, I hate to bring this to you. Don't you start playing another video. Twisting your melon equals mind blown. Wait, what? What have I missed? Prefer the honest answer than faith, the whole rebellion thing Camus talked about. Was anyone even paying attention? Class! Stay on target. Don't you dare start playing another video. I didn't give you permission. But yeah, who was it? They mentioned, surprise, surprise, the shooter was another white male. So, Boulder, Colorado, a gunman opened fire at a grocery store in Boulder, Colorado on Monday afternoon, killing 10 people, including a police officer, the authorities in Boulder said. Hello, Ty, how you doing? Yes, mummy, ooh. The police said they had taken a suspect into custody after the shooting. That person was injured, authorities said. Videos showed a handcuffed man being escorted from the building by officers, shirtless and with his right leg appearing to be covered in blood. Hey, Backy, how's it going? People inside the grocery King Soopers described a harrowing and chaotic scene inside the store. I thought I was going to die, said Alex Arellano, 35, who was working in the meat department at King Soopers in the South Boulder area when he heard a series of gunshots, then saw people running toward an exit near his department. The authorities identified the officer who died as Eric Talley, a 51-year-old who joined the department in 2010. Officer Talley was the first to respond to the scene when reports of a gunman came in, police said. He was, by all accounts, one of the outstanding officers at the Boulder Police Department, and his life was cut far too short, said Boulder County District Attorney Michael Doherty. There you go, Billy. Dean Schiller, who posted a live video from the scene shortly after the shooting began, said he heard about a dozen shots and saw 3 people who appeared to be wounded, 2 in the parking lot and 1 inside the supermarket. As officers secured the building, more than a dozen people were led out of the supermarket at King Soopers in a residential area a couple of miles south of the campus of the University of Colorado. The grocery store usually draws a mix of families and college students. Honestly, just like how normal this location is, really just would absolutely terrify me if I were to be living in America. And for that reason, I'm glad I don't. Because how often do we hear about this? I mean, how often do we hear about this exact sort of scenario happening at such a normal place? Just such a pedestrian place like a supermarket. It's just a supermarket. And it's a couple of miles south of the campus of the University of Colorado. Like, I go to a university now. If I were to be going to uni in the States, and I finish my tutorial, and then I head on down to the supermarket, this could have been, this could have been any one of us. That's the thing that really scares and upsets me about this whole thing, is how absolutely normal this is to hear about nowadays. How routinely, how regularly we hear of shootings, mass shootings happening in the United States. It happens in schools all the time, for example. Places where children are going to learn and going to be educated, I should say. Shooter was taken into custody just means the shooter was white. You always hear that. Yeah. In Mr. Schiller's video, gunshots could be heard coming from inside the store with officers gathering at the entrance. Over a loudspeaker, police officers called to the scene could be heard saying, "The entire building is surrounded. You need to surrender. Come out with your hands up," the officer said. Dozens of police officers and dozens of vehicles descended on the scene. Newlyweds Quinlan and Nevin Sloan, both 21, had stopped into the store to pick up supplies for beef stroganoff when they heard the shooting. Beef stroganoff sounds pretty good. Ms. Sloan, a student at the University of Colorado, Boulder, said... At the University of Colorado, Boulder, Colorado, you add Colorado in there, said that at first she didn't know what the noise was. That's another scary thing, right? It's like this is terrifying to think about. Is I think in some capacity they actually do have shooting drills at schools now. Think about how scary that is. They are teaching kids to recognize the sound of shooting. To recognize the sounds of shooting, that shouldn't be a thing that kids should be worrying about. But they have to worry about it. They have to know the sounds of shooting. And this couple didn't know what the sounds of shooting was. Couple had split up in the store. He was in produce. She was standing in front of the dairy case when customers began running. It was muffled at first, she said, and I thought maybe someone had dropped something, but then it went again, probably about 15 to 20 shots really fast. My husband came up and shoved me out the door and yelled, "Call 911." Then he ran back in to make sure a couple of older ladies who were in the aisles got out okay. Sprinting across the parking lot, she said she took cover behind a building, only to be joined minutes later by her husband. I don't know why I put only in there, that's not in there. Only then, there's an only, she added, did they look down and realize that because they hadn't bothered to use a cart, they had fled with their arms full of the meat, noodles, and sherry they had intended to buy. At that point, I don't think it fucking matters. Make your beef stroganoff. You earned it. Anyway. These were people going about their day, doing their food shopping, and their lives were cut abruptly and tragically short, Mr. Doherty said. Promised the victims and the people of the state of Colorado that we will secure justice. Yeah, floods are progressing as floods do. We have a dry day tomorrow, thankfully. Shooter was taken alive. He's white, obviously. If he was black, going off US's track record, he would be shot dead. Yeah, absolutely. Wouldn't surprise me at all. And yeah, Nate, yeah, as the, I had to drive through some of the floods today. Well, not drive through them, I had to drive around them because a number of roads were blocked off because they were flooded. Actually driving past one of them, and it was solidly a few inches deep of water. I was like, whoa. Throws your head a bit. Messes with your head a bit when you actually see it in person. Is it me or are Americans getting really weird as some YouTube guy has been called a groomer when he talks to 18-year-olds? Then they usually in their 20s. But the breadtube reaction was like, women who are 18 aren't adults. Find it bizarre you've even heard hot takes if a person is 15 plus years older than the man or woman is equal to a sex crime. You're like, not only is it sexist, but it sounds like a religious thou shalt not. The issue with the Dan Avidan situation that I've heard, it's a mess right now. Like it's a pretty messy scenario. But what I heard is that he had contact with one of the women at least. We'll come back to the shooting in just a sec. I don't want to have to say that, but anyway. Apparently Dan Avidan is accused of grooming someone. This is all, I only know the most basic bits about this, because he was communicating with an underage fan who was like 17 or something, and then sometime later they ended up sleeping together when she was 22 or what have you. That makes things complicated. Twitter is doing their thing, YouTube is doing their thing talking about this particular scenario. I'm not going to bother responding to it until all the details are out formally. At any rate, my stance is don't get too close and personal with your fans if you're a creator. Keep that shit to yourself, I generally speaking, honestly, just as a general rule, I don't really like people DMing me. It's super uncomfortable in the first place. If we're not very personal, if we're not very close, just generally, it's weird, creeps me out. I treat DMs almost as business most of the time, unless I am a specific friend with someone. I will DM my friends on a regular basis. You can DM me, yeah. We're friends. It's different. Hello, Lictor. How you going? Sorry for the... It's not... It's weird. It's a very tricky thing, because it does lead to that sort of thing. I've had a number of people DM me shit, and they're in my Discord, and it's like, could have just posted this in the Discord. It's like, it's not a particularly personal interaction between the two of us. That kind of thing. Oh yeah, check out my social medias. But just as a general rule, creators shouldn't be especially DMing underage fans. Which is why this stream and my Discord are supposed to be 18 plus for the record. It's an 18 plus environment. And also, I don't want to have underage people DMing me in the first place. As a creator, I just don't want to have to deal with that. Not to mention, there's just a social disconnect in age there. I'm 31 years of age, generally speaking. I try to communicate my ideas in such a way that anyone of generally adult age can understand them. But it's like, I don't want to have that, I don't want to have that level of private communication with someone at that age. And nor should anyone else. Anyway, there's a whole thing to unpack there. Living in America, being male in general limits you from doing anything that a woman could do in general. What do you mean? For the record, DMs. Struck you as odd because in the UK you can marry, join the army, go to work at 16, and then when you were in college at 17 you dated a lady who was 40 and never felt uncomfortable. Like helping a small child. I think I understand what you mean there. Yeah, there is a lot of inequality with regards to... Actually, we talked about this in class. There is a lot of inequality with the way that, generally speaking, for example, single dads are treated. If you see a single dad, there is a subconscious thought process that a lot of people immediately go to, men and women, will go to this idea of like that man could be a predator. If there's a man at the playground with his kids, there's the assumption that man could potentially be a predator, whereas with a woman, socially speaking, we do. Have a good one, Sammy. Thank you for hanging out tonight. Yeah, like the idea it's not a man's business to be nurturing is the worst case assumption. Yeah. Men are generally seen as dangerous in that regard, which is really unusual, really bizarre, that thought process. It tends to tie into homophobia a lot, yeah. Homophobia, which then also in its own way ties to pedophilia. A lot of people conflate those two. You know, if you're making assumptions about someone being gay, generally speaking, a lot of the accusations against gay people coming from homophobes tend to go directly towards pedophilia as well. Yeah. It's a whole, toxic masculinity, yeah. People tend to think the worst of single parents. They do. As a general rule, they absolutely do. They assume if they see a woman who is a single mother, for example, they imagine that the woman has done something to drive the father away from the kids, or if they've had a separation, they imagine that the woman is controlling custody of the children and not allowing the man to see them. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you've got people who just simply do not trust single fathers. It's like it's a whole mess. The way that we culturally refer to single parents is as a general rule, because the idea of a stable, healthy family still goes back to that old nuclear family concept. The man, the woman, the 2.5 kids. Husband, wife. Yeah. Single dad also gets the other side of that coin by being like, oh, look at him, he's so responsible. Yeah, true. It depends on who the person interacting with them is. Yes, 2.5 kids, generally speaking, generally referring to like 2 grown children who are like school-aged and 1 toddler sort of situation. The Simpsons model. You know, Maggie's been a toddler for like 35 years. Where to go out with your client a lot as a male caretaker because you care for a non-verbal young woman, and there's always a Karen that will follow you around and give you the 1,000-yard stare. I don't think it's toxic masculinity. Oh, but it is though. Like toxic masculinity is a lot deeper than men being evil. There's a lot of depth to toxic masculinity. Also more painful because you're a big fat egg. The fuck has half a kid? It is rude to call someone half a kid. I don't know where that phrase even comes from, honestly. But yeah, it all comes back around to that idea of people who are just entirely too invasive and entirely too... What's the phrase I'm looking for? Like, too nosy. There's a lot of people who are too nosy. And that's just a general rule in society. A lot of people get these preconceived notions around what a good person is based on their own preconceptions. Statistical average number of children in a family. There you go. I didn't know that. Men aren't seen as nurturing. Social voyeurism. Yeah, that's a good point. Where the king suggested these 2 women who both claimed to be the kids. Cut the baby in half. Yeah, the real one was like, no, don't. Was that King Solomon? I don't recall. It was one of those. What up, Texas? How you doing? Trans rights. Fucking trans rights, mate. That reminds me I've got to do emotes tomorrow. You know what? I think I'm not drunk. I'm tired. That's what's going on here. I'm not fucking drunk. I'm tired. I think the command for trans rights is just TR. There it is. Trans liberation. Yeah, it was the judgment of King Solomon, yeah. Sucks that there isn't a clear outlet for tackling men's issues, which leads to them getting picked up by MRA and right-wing groups. You're not wrong. I'm definitely tired. Holy shit. It's 12:40. That's why you fuckwits have had me going until 4 a.m. I'm just hearing myself now. Yeah. Y'all talking about trans rights. No one cares about trans lefts. Excuse me. At least 47 people care about trans lefts. As a trans left. That was dumb. You know what I want to do tonight? I've never rated her before. I don't even know if I've watched her stream before. I don't think I have. But Kate is playing Skyrim. And Skyrim's just cozy. Honestly, I could watch Skyrim all day. I could play Skyrim all day. I used to do that. I'm gonna raid Kate. I'm gonna go say hi to Kate, who's going through what looks like the main quest line of storyline. Main quest line of Skyrim. I'm that tired, I'm getting my words wrong. Like I do every night. Trans rights are greater than trans wrongs. Yeah, honestly, that's a fair point, Lictar. Like I was talking about how, why would you... I'm gonna just like quickly get this out of the way. I posted a tweet, it's like, why would you so heavily criticize the LGBTQ plus community if you have LGBTQ plus friends and relatives or whatever it is? And someone actually went into that whole thing. It was a rhetorical question. Twitter. And someone went out of their way to bring up Jessica and Eve. I'm like, dude, you fucking missed the point. Dramatically. Anyway, that's the end of Rogue Bitch for the night. It's been nearly 4 hours. I'll see you when I'm looking at you, folks. Ta-ta, have a good one. I love you. The community is not super on the same page. Yeah, there's a lot of discussion there, but I'm not going to have it right now. I'm going to go raid Kate instead. Have a good one, folks. Love your faces. See you tomorrow. Ta-ta, everybody.